There's nothing wrong with that.
It's a good song. It's not the one I usually think of when I think of Billy Idol. I don't know. But
now we need to explain to the audience why we're talking about Billy Idol.
Because I got to see Billy Idol live last night. I might talk about it more on Friday night's last call. But yeah, I got to see a concert in Tampa Bay. That's a city in Florida. And it was Billy Idol, also with Joan Jett and the
Blackhearts.
Blackhearts.
Blackhearts. Yeah, Blackhawks is a hockey team here. Yeah.
Yes. So I got to, and it was good. And
good.
I'm trying to see. Hold on, I'm not caught up. Oh, now I'm caught up on YouTube. Welcome everybody, the Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Aged Boomer. This is my co-host, Pacelli.
Hello. As if you didn't know who we were.
I'd like to wish.
Maybe you didn't. It's possible.
Like to wish all the mothers out there, including our Netter of Netters Network, a happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
There you go.
DJ Play Nice. What's it saying? Okay.
I wasn't on comments here. Hold on a second.
I brought it up. I'm assuming this stuff is showing up. Anyway, there we go. Sorry, I could bring these up.
There we go. Yes. And we also have a $1 from FKHC 2005, also known as Tim. That's on Netter's channel. Great supporter. Thank you so much, Tim. You are wonderful.
Welcome. And so thank you for the $1. And Dancing with Myself. Yes, Big Al, he did do that one. He did a lot of the hits and also some of his newer songs too. Let me see. Netter. Okay, DJ Play Nice. It's weird how they're showing up in the auto switch part and also the live recording, but everyone can hear us. Okay, all right, that's
good. Let me see what happens if I turn off the studio mode.
You don't have to if you don't want to. You can try it.
Continue,
but leave it on if you
live version. There we go. I have to practice and learn how to use the studio mode and everything, and so I can do things in the background while we're still live. So,
okay, that's weird. Because I'm seeing it in the YouTube. Okay, there it is. Okay, never mind. Okay. Anyway, we got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. We got a lot of news tonight. We've been having a lot of news lately. That final news story tonight, though, that's the highlight of the evening. I'm excited to talk about that. But you'll have to wait to the end to find out what that is, won't you?
I would imagine so. Yes.
I think that was a submission by. We'll get to that when we get to the notes. All right. But okay, Billy Idol, Joan Jett, wish I were there. They are touring over the country, so who knows? There might still be time. Even if you feel like it. I'm here to hear Boomer groan. Oh, there'll be a lot of groaning tonight. There'll be tears and shouting probably. So anyway, we're gonna get into it.
And it's not just gonna be Boomer groaning. It's gonna be Troy ranting a bit too.
It's gonna be me, and it's gonna be me. Maybe I don't want to say playing devil's advocate because. I would never give a certain company the devil.
No, it absolutely is, in my opinion.
I'm terrified of them. Anyway. Anyway, let's bring up the presentation. All right. First, we're going to talk about the good old days. Now, I did change our good old days because I thought the one I originally planned that would make a better last call. So
yeah,
sometime in the future we'll be doing a last call on the subject, which you guys didn't know about anyway. Maybe I briefly mentioned it on Friday, but I think we're going to save it for a last call. But instead, let's talk about Donkey Kong.
I remember Donkey Kong.
Now, I know you were a Space Invaders kid. That was your go-to arcade game. But were you aware of Donkey Kong?
Oh, sure. I mean, Donkey Kong came a little bit later, but I enjoyed playing that one too. Very frustrating. I could only get through maybe 2 levels. That's about as far as I could get.
It's a tough one. This is sort of the game that put Nintendo on the map. Or at least started them to put them on that. Now, to be fair, they've been around for a long time before this. They were a toy company in Japan. I know one of their best selling products was one of those things where you press the button and the grabber comes out of the pistol or whatever, and it grabs things for you. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay.
I don't know if they're the ones that invented that, but they had a version of that was a hot seller. They also were famous for selling Japanese playing cards. and I think they were doing that since the 1800s. So, company
Sure.
run by the Yamaichi family. I'm not sure if they're still running things or not. I know they were running things for a while. Never did Nintendo, but surely you've heard of Donkey Kong the arcade game, which is what we're talking about right now. The early arcades, they were something else. Depending on which movie we're going to cover for the Monday Night at the Movies birthday stream, we might see more of those arcade games. But I played this, yeah. So yeah, this is what's the plot? Our main character, Jumpman, who I believe later became known as Mario, correct?
Correct.
Is fighting a big ape creature, perhaps a gorilla, named Donkey Kong. I had heard, and I don't know if this is true, that the reason they came up with the name donkey was because someone over in Japan looked up a synonym for the English word stubborn and saw the word donkey.
Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense. Sure, that would be a reasonable synonym. Sure.
Universal Studios did not like the fact that this looked like King Kong with a Fay Ray style lady up top, and they went to sue Nintendo. They had settled out of court.
Interesting. Yeah, of
It's
course.
always about rights and people fighting over rights. Anyway, Apes, King Kong, and the Kidnapped Blonde. Yes, the blonde's name in this game is Pauline.
Yeah.
Yes, so this was, of course, a big classic. This is considered one of the big classic arcade games. There were several on that list. I believe others included Pac-Man, Ms. Pac-Man, I believe Missile Command, Centipede, or others.
Yeah.
In fact, we'll get to a documentary in a minute, though. That's what the actual arcade machine looked like. It does have very iconic sound effects, like with the butta, do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't
Not
get
to
sued.
mention, it starts out with is it Toccata and Fugue in D minor?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
I didn't.
exactly.
All this time, I didn't realize that's what that is.
Mhm.
I kept thinking that's the Donkey Kong theme. No, that's not what that is. That's Bach Toccata and Fugue in D minor.
Yeah.
Apparently, King Kong is, but Kong is not. It apparently is why the Monsterverse can only call him Kong. Really?
Interesting. Oh, interesting.
Very interesting. Oy vey. Okay. Here we go. That's what the actual game looked like.
That is really, really iconic. Yes. Although the other thing too is when you the characters, they're basically the same on the cabinet as they are in the graphics, except the girl here is wearing a much more conservative dress, and she's a redhead and not a blonde.
Yeah, there's no consistency there. It's funny too, because in the newer, when she finally got introduced in Super Mario Odyssey, a recent game, as Mayor Pauline, she's a brunette.
Well, I mean, you can change your hair color. Of course you can.
Anyway, here we are. We have Donkey Kong throwing the barrels down. You got to jump over the barrels. There are other things come after you, like, I don't want to call them ghosts. They're like living fireballs come after you, and other things in these stages. The lady doesn't need saving. Yeah, the lady don't need no saving. Yeah.
Well, yeah, she kind of did. She was not getting out of that one on her own. So what would happen is the barrels would come down the girders. Oh, those girders, the reason that they go back and forth like switchbacks is because after he climbs to the top, he jumps on the top, and each time he jumps, a layer kind of, shifts. So he's got a endless supply of barrels up there, and he's rolling these barrels down.
Yep.
When they get to the oil drum at the bottom, they catch fire and start coming back up after Mario.
Are they in flames now?
Yep, that's how. That's where that's why you see the flame down at the bottom there. Yeah.
This game is famous for not ever getting proper home console translations. I think one of the better ones.
I had it on I think was it Activision that put it out for Atari 2600. It was terrible. Here's the cover. Yeah.
Like that cover. She's a blonde again.
Oh, so maybe it was. Yep, that's it. That's what I had.
Yes.
Yep.
Look at that, huh? You like that?
I mean, the gameplay for this level was, similar. But I think it only had 2 levels. It had this one and, was it the Remove the Rivets one?
Maybe. Interestingly enough, the NES version of Donkey Kong only has 3 levels of the 4 out of the arcade game. I don't know what it is about Donkey Kong that made it hard to bring to consoles. You figure on Nintendo's own console, they could have given us all 4 levels.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
One of the best translations of this was a copy of it that comes with the game Donkey Kong 64 for Nintendo 64. You could unlock it, and Rare redid it in the Nintendo 64 game, which is kind of interesting.
Nice.
I think ColecoVision, from what I recall, had the best version. Do you remember ColecoVision?
I do remember ColecoVision, yes.
And there it is there.
Wow, look at that.
Not bad. Not bad.
Admittedly, they put the is it one level shorter or what? Because the monkey is on, or the ape is on.
It's like they reverse sides or something.
Yeah.
Maybe they do that. Maybe they do that.
But
when
the oil drum and where you start is in the same place. That's what I'm saying.
Bizarre.
I wonder if there's a level, going up that's mixed.
Or they mix them up as the further you get. I don't know. But apparently people were very happy with this version. This was a pack-in with the ColecoVision. This was a big deal. We never mentioned the ColecoVision on here before. Maybe we should do that for good old days sometime. But I think that's the cement level. This is the level that keeps not being in all the home.
I was just going to say, I never saw that on a home console.
No.
I only ever played this at the... Well, I never got to this level on the arcade. I watched people play it. I never got to this level myself.
This, and for some reason, this isn't in the NES version. It made it into the Game Boy version of the game. I should have brought that up in this thing, but it was made on the Game Boy, the black and white Game Boy, and you play through it, the first 4 levels. It's just like the arcade game. And then it opens up into a whole new expanded game where you have these puzzle levels where you have to grab keys, but it's still keeping a similar aesthetic to the arcade game. So you kind of get the arcade game at the beginning, and then it opens up in this huge world. And Shigeru Miyamoto, the guy that created Donkey Kong, Super Mario, and Legend of Zelda, actually redid Donkey Kong for the Game Boy. That was his game. He made it again for the Game Boy. It's neat. It's a neat game. But moving on to let's see here. There was a cartoon series.
Yes, there was. I remember that.
And how now DK is supposed to partner with Studio. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Now you have Super Nintendo Land at Universal, yet they sued Nintendo once before. Times change. You start as the villain and live long enough to become the hero, or vice versa. Troy may have some comments on that in a little bit. But anyway, let's move on. I remember the cartoon. Yeah, I want to think this was part of a block where you had the Donkey Kong cartoon. I think there was also a Pac-Man cartoon.
There was Pac-Man, yeah.
Yeah, and there were some others too. I remember Pac-Man was the biggest arcade game though, as far as I remember. That was the big one. Yeah.
And I don't know what the connective tissue is between the two, but I do know that there was clearly some cross-pollination of ideas, because whereas Pac-Man trying to escape the ghosts, he can eat the little pill or whatever that momentarily turns them vulnerable to you.
Yes.
They have the same mechanic in Donkey Kong, where Jumpman can grab a hammer, and for a short period of time he can smash the barrels and the flaming barrels.
Wow, sounds like maybe Nintendo was lifting a game mechanic. Wait, no. I'm kidding.
Wouldn't be surprised.
I'm kidding. The thing is, all the games, like if you look at Galaga, is Galaga Space Invaders? There are similarities, but then it goes in its own direction,
The other thing to keep in mind with these games is they were very limited on what they could do. You couldn't have anything that wasn't 2-dimensional. And they were really pushing it when they tried to do that. So the more limitations you had, the more they had to be pretty kind of similar.
They had to be inventive. But I will say those old arcade games hold up well, because the graphics aren't that bad. They're 8-bit graphics, I believe. They're pretty high up there. It was at the same time as the WWE a WWF cartoon. Oh, I remember that with Hulk Hogan. I think was a character on there, right? Yes. Donkey Kong cereal.
This is probably one of the few sugar sweetened cereals that I actually liked. I did like this one. I don't even remember why I got it, because I wasn't that into Donkey Kong, and it's not like it had tchotchkes in it that I wanted.
Because when you're a kid, you try new things. That's what you do when you're a kid.
Maybe. And this one I actually kind of liked. Yeah.
It's another one of these sweetened corn cereals. I think the cereal shaped like barrels.
Yes, it was shaped like barrels.
So that's what Donkey Kong does. He throws barrels at you.
Yeah.
And of course, many years later, in the early aughts, there was a documentary made called "The King of Kong: A Fistful of Quarters." Have you seen this?
I have not. I did not know
You
this
need
existed.
to mark this for a movie night or a Monday night at some point in the future.
Okay.
'Cause
Okay.
this is, or at least, you can put it all, because I know I'm doing a couple with you
Sure.
anyway. But this is a documentary about Steve Wiebe, who got the highest score in Donkey Kong, but then Billy Mitchell, the
Cheated?
Pac-Man what?
But Billy Mitchell cheated? Is that what you were going to
No,
say?
Billy Mitchell said, no, I got the high score, and it's going to be about these two going head to head. He's already the Pac-Man.
Oh, so he said he had the high score and he had it recorded, but no one ever actually saw him do it in reality.
There's a wonderful scene in the movie where Steve Wiebe gets I think he's going to make a new record here, like in the arcade, and he gets the arcade, and then Billy Mitchell says, "Here, hand him this VHS tape." And then they play the VHS tape, and it's recently made, and it shows Billy Mitchell getting a higher score. And people are like, "Well, is that legal because it's on a tape?"
Exactly. Which is exactly how he cheated in Pac-Man.
Anyway, there's Steve Wiebe, though. There he is with the Donkey Kong machine. He had his own Donkey Kong machine. He actually got the board from the former Missile Command champion.
Wow.
Billy Mitchell apparently disgraced or something, and then and then he was saying, no, this is a conspiracy between him and the former Missile Command champion. He gave him a corrupted board to make him score higher. They were doing all sorts of things in this documentary. Like Billy Mitchell's presented as kind of the villain in this movie. Okay,
I wonder why.
And you have all of his
to make a stretch there.
And he has all these other classic gamer guys in there that are toadies, don't like Billy Mitchell, even though he's this, he's this, Midwestern, he's this Midwestern father of three, teaches chemistry in high school. That's what he does. But he has a Donkey Kong game, and he does this in his spare time.
Yeah.
But yeah, check out that documentary. But that's Donkey Kong. Anything left to say though about Donkey Kong?
No, it was a great game. I loved it.
Okay, and maybe not the 2600 version.
Well, it had one good level. That's about it.
Only,
like I said, I think it had the rivet level, and it wasn't very good, and it was only those two.
The only game console that you can buy a legitimate version of this on now, that's a digital version too. It's not a physical version. Arcade Archives, they do release. That's why they're called Arcade Archives. That you can buy if you don't want to buy a collection, just want to buy single-use arcade games on your modern consoles. You go to Arcade Archives, and you can get them. But the Nintendo ones are only available on Nintendo Switch, and you can get Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
if you so choose. So, and this brings us to tonight's Geeky Geezers.
The subtitle of tonight's stream should be Nintendo is evil.
Hey, the opinions of Mr. Troy Pacelli
are mine alone, but they are based on reality.
Let's move on here.
I don't care. Whoops.
Do you want to hear a fun story about the guy that used to run Nintendo back in the Donkey Kong day? His name was Yamaichi, and he had a chain of love motels that was part of his side businesses, and he often claimed, I'm their best customer. You know what a love motel in Japan is? I'm just saying. Yeah. You could rent them by the 15 minutes or the hour or something.
I get it.
And of course he said this, and I think his wife heard it too. This is not good. Anyway, I got a lot of great Nintendo stories from over the years. That's why, well, here we have the first one. This is from Fandom Pulse, but it is showing up in other outlets too, such as Nintendo Life also posted it. But Nintendo of America has a new president. I believe this is the man that replaced Reggie Fils-Aimé. I was always a big fan of Reggie Fils-Aimé. He had a good sense of humor. But Reggie Fils-Aimé was famous for saying, when somebody asks him, why doesn't Nintendo get involved with messaging in their games? He says, oh, we're just about fun. We're not about politics here. That's basically what he said. Now we have Doug Bowser. He's a former EA employee. I think he used to be a head of Electronic Arts, or he was up in Electronic Arts. You know that company?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I've heard of them. Yeah,
yes. So Doug
they're
Bowser.
also evil, by the way.
Okay, I'm not into labeling here. Anyway, Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo of America, made it clear that the company will not be eschewing its DEI policies as President Donald Trump and his administration have begun to work to remove it from the corporate world. This is from Fandom Post. I'm just reading. I'm not saying these are my opinions. In an interview with Brazilian website Folha de Sao Paulo, and translated via Deep L, Bowser was asked, Trump has been pushing for American companies to cut their diversity policies. Has Nintendo changed anything? He responded, we always want to attract the best talent we can and retain that talent. We also believe that it's important for those talents to be diverse from the point of view of their backgrounds, their experiences, and their understandings because our players are diverse. So we strive to have a diversity that reflects our players and our organization. This is something that has been in place for years. Before people really started using the acronym DEI, standing for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and it will continue to be in place. It's important to us, he stated. So the article later goes on to say, like its counterparts, Nintendo also has an entire page on its website dedicated to diversity, equity, inclusion. The page lists a number of employee resource groups, banned, Black at Nintendo Dialogue, Rainbow. Oh, I think I know what that means. Nintendo Women and Allies, Enable, API, and OLA, Hispanic Latino Network. Furthermore, the company employs at least one individual who I'm sure it's more than one. Anyway, who views gamers that are opposed to wokeness as quote unquote angry bigots. James Wan, a content production systems manager at Nintendo of America, wrote in June 2024. It feels like all these angry bigots were better people before their con idols gave them terms they should get mad about when those terms are concepts that have been around forever. He then added, you mean this thing I like from 2000 is woke? Always has been. I can tell you from what I know, at least Nintendo of America in Redmond, Washington, because we know Washington is not exactly a hotbed of conservatism. Yes,
Right.
there are some woke individuals working there. That's I've known about that for a while. President Donald Trump signed. He goes on to say, President Donald Trump signed an executive order at the very beginning of his second term, instructing federal agencies to root out DEI policies from corporate America. The order stated that critical and influential institutions of American society, including the federal government, major corporations, financial institutions, the medical industry, large commercial airlines, law enforcement agencies, and institutions of higher learnings have adopted and actively used dangerous, demeaning, and immoral race and sex-based preferences under the guise of so-called diversity, equity, inclusion.
Exactly.
DEI, goes on, notes to say illegal. In order to eliminate these policies, furthermore, indicated that litigation as well as regulatory action could be taken against companies engaged in piracy. I think the article also made, I forgot to put these in here, that they did have some kind of a DEI officer thing posted for a job proposal. I believe that was back in the summer of last year. This was before the election in the fall. What do you make of Bowser's comments? I have my own thoughts of them. Troy probably has his own thoughts too.
You know what? And what I want to do here is I want to post his own words on the Nintendo Life website. Here's another reference. It basically covers the same ground, but I want you to know that we're not covering any of this out of context.
No. Now, Nintendo Life is not owned by Nintendo, but they are, if I were to describe them politically, they would be center left. Like they're usually in the center, but if push comes to shove, they may throw out a leftist thing once in a while. So
but
they're
that commentary about the current administration's stand on DEI is 100% correct. It is not in any way, shape, or form actual diversity, inclusion, and whatever the hell they want to call it. It is specifically making decisions based on race. That is illegal. There is a reason that is illegal, because it is unfair.
Yes.
That was progressive back in the day. Okay. If you want to revert and go back to Jim Crow laws, by all means, make that argument. But that's exactly what woke is.
So my thoughts on this is, though, Doug Bowser is playing a little fast and loose with language here. I think he's saying Nintendo's always been about diversity and all this stuff, and we are always about diversity. Part of me wonders if you go inside the company, actually look for DI policies, if there actually are any in place. I'm not saying there aren't any, and I'm not saying that Nintendo couldn't have made a push to the left like over the last year or so, but I don't know. He doesn't say specifically they have DEA policy. He says we've always been about diversity before there was a name given to it. Now, there is that thing on the actual website with all this stuff, so I can't deny
Now,
that that's there.
now
But part of
I
me
do
wonders
want
if this is either lip surface to the left or maybe they really have changed. I don't know. Go ahead.
I do want to point out, I first want to welcome influencer is not an occupation. I agree with you 100%. And I also agree with your comment, F Nintendo. But hold on to that thought, influencer, because there's more. We'll get there.
Okay.
We will.
Now I need
Darth
to...
Plato says they were taught that these DEI ideas will improve race relations, and they eat this stuff up. So they're falling back on their programming. I like the fact that you called it on their programming, because if you go back to they were taught that these DEI ideas will improve race relations, you have to shut your brain off to believe that. You have to accept it as a computer accepts programming, right? The computer never says, no, that you know, I don't like that. That doesn't make sense. It does whatever it can with what you give it without question. And that's how these people are. They shut off their brains and they go, I do what they say. I do what they say, and I say what they say, and I believe what they tell me to believe. I have no, I have to double down and make on making a better world. Yeah, and it's not, because you can see it in real time. You don't have to think too hard to see that race relations were actually getting really, really good in the 80s and early 90s. And then we decided we want to fight all these same battles over again. Remember, the people that are pushing DEI are telling them that it will improve race relations, when in reality they know it will divide us because they are Marxists. Marxists want to divide us, and they're doing a brilliant job of
My point I'm trying to make is this too, is that I just don't know what Nintendo is up to right now. Now, it is possible that there are changes going on at the company right now. Like I said, they have a new head of Japan and a new head of the U.S. branch. If they are indeed violating law policies, I believe that there could be an investigation into these things, and we'll find out for a case. I also think that Doug Bowser could just be trying to placate certain individuals, and they don't really have a policy in place. I don't know. That's my point. They do have wokesters working over there. Sometimes the stuff slips into localizations of their games from Japan, because remember, this is a Japanese company at the end of the day.
Yep.
But sometimes they might slip something into a localization. When that happens, I do not buy the game. We're living in an age of compromise, unfortunately.
But speaking of this Japanese company, let's talk about.
Well, now we can go directly to Japan itself.
Let's talk about how they are weaponizing copyright law to destroy a smaller company.
Yes.
And
okay.
You know, as influencer said, F Nintendo. Let's go.
Well, I do want to say something before we begin. I kind of feel like I'm in 1920 Chicago and I'm in the neighborhood, and Troy's been around the neighborhood and says, wow, you know, that Al Capone guy, he really is nice to the people, that he's very altruistic. He's helping people out in need and stuff. Yeah. And now Troy's coming to me now and says, you didn't tell me about the fact that there's like there was a St. Valentine's Day massacre and he bashed people's heads in with a baseball bat at a dinner. And I said, well, I don't
know what you've been on all this time. I'm the one who goes, whatever you say, because I don't know these game companies. And then when I find out about these game companies, you go, well, yeah, they've always been here. I didn't know this. You talk about Nintendo like it's the best thing since your childhood.
I think, no, here's what I'm going to say here, all right? No one gets to be a console manufacturer by being nice. Nintendo goes through periods where they're decent, and then they go through periods where they're mean. I mentioned to you about a thing back in the days of the NES, how they went after a guy making a game called Giannis Sisters on the Amiga computer because they said it was too close to Super Mario Brothers. And I think they got it off the market too in some places. these
See,
are the
this is
same.
what I'm talking about. Again, these evil, huge companies
Yes.
who really don't have a legal case when they're
Okay.
pulling these IP civil cases, but the average smaller company doesn't have the money to go up against them. It really is a racket. It is. It's evil.
Anyway.
It absolutely
Okay.
is.
Anyway, what was I going to mention though? Okay, let's move on though to
Anyone who's had a copyright claim on one of their videos knows
Oh, you got to
exactly
be
what I'm
careful with
talking about.
Nintendo stuff. Here's the weird thing about Nintendo stuff with copyright. They don't care about Zelda, apparently. If you're doing a Zelda Let's Play, they tend not to come after you. I could be wrong
Mhm.
in this. If you're playing Mario, they'll come after you. Don't ask me why. One is okay and the other isn't. They're both Nintendo things. It's weird the stuff Nintendo gets angry about and the stuff they let go. I never quite understand it. But apparently Pokemon is one of these things they will not let go. Okay, Doug Bowser. Oh, sorry, no. Nintendo is trying to kill Pal World, and they're not even hiding it anymore. Yeah, this is from Smash JT. This is an opinion piece of Smash JT. You can decide if you want to agree with it or not. Nintendo's legal warpath plows on. I mean, at this point, Nintendo seems much more focused on litigation than video games, but such is life when you get this massive, I suppose. Not just on copyright infringement, but on innovation itself. We have some movement from a lawsuit against the developer of Pocket Pair game Pal World that makes it abundantly clear to everyone this isn't just about protecting Pikachu's precious image. If I could change the thing. There's the precious image. You like that? I guess this is an unprecious image. Anyway.
Yeah, that's more like it, actually.
Okay. Not just okay. So Game Pal World makes it clear this is just about protecting Pikachu's precious image. It's about crushing any competition whatsoever that dares to play in the same sandbox. The fallout from all this will send ripples throughout the entire video game industry. That's true. If they succeed in this will send ripples. Power World's developer Pocket Pair announced on X below that they've been forced to make disappointing changes to the game, not because players asked for it, not because the mechanics didn't work, but because Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are strong-arming them through the courts. I need to maybe explain to you Nintendo and the Pokemon Company. I believe this is how the Pokemon Company works. I do not believe Nintendo owns the Pokemon Company outright, but they own a controlling interest in it. And they get game exclusivity on their consoles. So you don't usually see Pokemon and things that Nintendo won't allow Pokemon to be, but I don't believe they own it outright, but they own a lot of the share. I think they own a lot of the shares in the company. For instance, I think they don't have a lot of control over the cards. Remember the cards that were very popular, they're Pokemon cards. Yeah. Okay. But don't quote me on any of that. So where did I leave off? Because I was trying to explain. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are strong arming them through the courts. Summoning pals via throwable spheres. Nope. Gone. Gliding with pals. Haha. Those two have been
So they
nerfed.
literally are trying to copyright throwing a ball.
Well, they're throwing spheres. Because if they were throwing a ball, that sounds a lot like a Pokeball. I don't know. I'm sorry you're going to get mad.
They're trying to copyright throwing a ball. There is no way. That is like trying to copyright wearing a cape.
These aren't just
Warner Brothers.
Don't give Warner Brothers ideas.
DC, no, they've already fought that fight. DC Comics, well, National Comics at the time, already fought that fight and lost.
Didn't they fight Captain Marvel back in the day?
Yes, it was Fawcett Comics.
Fawcett Comics, I remember. Those aren't just tweaks. They're direct hits against what made Pal World unique, fun, and I mean, let's be honest, more interesting than the last few mainline Pokemon games together combined. Let's call this what it is. Nintendo's trying to kill Pal World before it can turn into something much bigger, which is saying something because many could argue it's already a massive phenomenon. Since launch, Pal World has captured attention worldwide for being what many called Pokemon with guns, with a bold, chaotic alternative to the stale formula Nintendo has stuck to for decades. Oh, and rather than up their game or embrace competition, Nintendo, of course, chose to go nuclear. They filed a lawsuit in Japan claiming Pal World infringes on 3 of their patents. These same patents, mind you, that Pocket Pair are now challenging for being illegitimate, citing games like Craftopia and others that use similar mechanics long before Nintendo locked them up. Curious. So they're saying other games have used these same mechanics, but Nintendo never got in the hissy over that. That's what Smash JT is saying, or at least Power World people
Yeah.
are saying. Nintendo's not fighting to protect Pokemon at all. Let's be real. They're fighting to eliminate threats, just like they've done with fan games, ROM hacks, and emulators for years. Now they're turning that same scorched earth playbook on a commercial competitor. As much as I love many Nintendo IPs and games of the years, this is a double-edged sword that threatens true organic growth and expansion of the video game industry. Pocket Pair's latest statement was measured and extremely respectful, maybe even too respectful. They apologized to fans. They spoke of compromise and concern, but make no mistake, this is a company under attack from all sides by Nintendo's ninjas, a creative team being forced to gut core features of their game just to survive. And for what? Because Nintendo thinks its own concepts of throwing a ball to summon a creature. Nah, this is a bridge too far for me. Well, it's not a bridge too far for Smash JT, not for, I guess, whoever's Nintendo's lawyers, I assume. The irony is Power World's popularity didn't come from cloning Pokemon. It came from doing what Nintendo hasn't had the guts to do, ironically, in years, evolve. They never added challenge, no new creativity or variety. Power World took inspiration like every good game does, but built something new, edgy and wildly successful, something gamers actually wanted without sealing their IP. Nintendo saw the success and panicked, so now they're trying to sue Power World in mediocrity, strip it of its fun, dismantle its identity, and ultimately discourage any other indie studio in the future from ever trying something similar again. Sounds fun, right? But here's the kicker. Despite the legal attacks, Pocket Pair isn't backing down. They're still updating the game, still engaging the community, still pushing forward, and maybe that's what terrifies Nintendo most, the fact that Power World might survive the lawsuit because the sabotage and maybe emerge stronger than ever before. Because Power World can thrive in a world where Nintendo tries to kneecap them, then other developers might start believing they can too. And that's the real threat Nintendo wants to kill, with capital letters for emphasis. That is Smash JT. Shout out to Smash JT.
Absolutely.
And you seem to be agreeing with him on this.
How can you not? I really. How can you not? That's all I can say on that.
I don't know though. I'm looking at some of these pictures here. Look, you got the redheaded girl with the Power World sphere. You got this a Pokemon character with a sphere. You got these kids with the hat and the little funny creatures from Power. You got this is from Pokemon.
It's literally parody. I mean, this should be an open and shut case. But this is why. Keep in mind why IP law exists. It was supposed to exist to protect the little guy. You develop something, you want to be able to benefit from it. It doesn't. It is now used as a cudgel against the little guy by big corporations. So really, honestly, if you are in favor of F everybody who creates stuff and let's make sure we protect the richest of the rich, well, good on you. Keep voting Democrat. But besides that, you know,
Nintendo was
just
quite
remember
rich.
who the bad guys are here.
Anyway, Geek Flex says Nintendo owns 33 shares of the Pokemon Company. The family of the Pokemon owns 63%. I thought so. So they own a big chunk, not enough to own the property outright, but enough to influence the company itself. That makes sense. It's kind of like the Tetris company owns Tetris. If Nintendo had bought a controlling share in that, they probably could have kept Tetris on their platforms. For a while, they had exclusivity on Tetris, but not anymore. Let's see here, though. Yeah. So Nintendo's going after this. This is kind of weird for me because I don't play Pokemon and I don't play Pal World, but I know both are very popular and have their fan bases. Pal World, by the way, is not available on a Nintendo platform. I believe it's Xbox and PlayStation. All right,
well,
moving.
Let's talk about how if they don't like something you're doing, they will brick your computer and
brick your console.
Brick your console. Yeah, well, it's a computer.
I had sent you this article.
Yes.
Now look, man.
But you sent it to me so that you could defend them and tell me that they're totally justified in doing that. I mean, you're the one who made the Al Capone example. That's showing up to your customer. Hey, did you pay your protection money? No, I'm going to smash everything in your store. Then
can I speak? Let me explain.
Yeah, go ahead.
throughout Nintendo.
Go ahead and shill for them. Go ahead.
I'm not shilling for anyone. Let me explain something to you. When did I buy a Nintendo Switch? Not until 3.5 years when it was out. I bought a PlayStation 4 and Xbox before I bought a Switch of the last gen consoles. Nintendo has done plenty of stuff to piss me off in the past, and plenty of people I've been around, oh, we're never buying Nintendo again, yet people end up buying Nintendo again. This always happens, because what happens is they calm down, they become nicer, they get off this crap, and they become better. In the days of the original NES,
and just like the people that take the milk out of the refrigerator and find it all chunky and go, oh, you know what? Let me just put it back and it'll be better tomorrow. Cheers.
Well, yeah, I should really stick with Microsoft on the Xbox, where they want you to own nothing and be happy, because that's their plan. And Sony is woke central with their stuff, like Intergalactic, their new game.
Oh, don't worry, we'll get to Apple in just a moment.
Okay. Anyway, my point is, they're all bad. And I was very hesitant, and I'm not planning on getting a Switch 2 anytime soon, if ever, because frankly, I think the hardware is bad. It doesn't look good to me. I don't like this whole game key card thing. I don't like the fact that it's weirdly not backwards compatible. Don't like the fact that it's $500. I'm not paying that for a Nintendo console. It's not happening. Anyway, but I'm just trying.
Thank you so much, RubyHoove. She dropped 5. Well, I didn't mention it because you were on a roll earlier, but she did drop a gift.
Well, thank
earlier,
you. Thank you
for
so
which
much.
I'm absolutely thanking her. But she's now dropping a $5 super chat to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and I'm assuming to everyone, because you all have mothers. Or,
yes,
you know,
I assume we all do have a mother.
Well, I mean, unless, you consider your mother a father now, because now men can have babies, they say. I don't know.
Well, apparently, Ellie on the
fathers are kind of like mothers.
Yeah, they kind of do have to pull double duty. That's true.
So happy Mother's Day to all the single fathers out there.
That's a good point. That's a great point. Well, but of course they do have Father's Day too.
There you go.
Yes, but they're playing double duty.
That's true.
All right. Anyway, also grandmothers count. Don't forget the grandmothers. Okay.
Yeah, she's your mother's mother. That's like Mother's Day Inception there.
Isn't that character named Bowser? Oh, yes. Here's an ironic thing. The president of Nintendo of America is named Bowser. Also, another person I'm going to be talking about is also named Bowser.
Great.
It's very weird.
The villain's name. That's perfect.
Okay. So here's what's going on. Did I ever tell you that back in the days of the NES, if you were a third party, you're making third party games like your Konami or Capcom, and you go to Nintendo and you say, hey, this is great. I'll bring out games for your system, and I'll bring out games for the Sega. And they'll be like, well, you can do that, but don't expect to bring out any more games on our console. And we're running the show right now. They actually did that. Did you know that?
Doesn't surprise me.
They wanted a complete monopoly over games. It wasn't until Sega cracked through that they finally had competition with the Genesis.
Yeah.
And in Japan, it was the PC Engine with NEC. I remember that the president of Namco got furious at Nintendo, the people that made Pac-Man, because I think they were expecting Nintendo to give him a special deal, because they figured, well, we're on par because you're the Donkey Kong people, we're the Pac-Man people, and they didn't, and he got mad. And I think he ended up making a bunch of stuff on Sega consoles. A lot of 16-bit Namco games were actually not on Nintendo consoles; they were on Sega consoles. But anyway, happy Mother's Day on this wonderful occasion. So yeah, this came out recently too. Now, to be fair, I believe if you tampered with your Nintendo Wii and hacked it, I think those could get bricked too back in the day, but I'm not positive. Nintendo has updated its Nintendo of Account agreement with a severe warning against unauthorized use in a bid to prevent emulation and piracy. All those with a Nintendo account will have received an email, including Eurogamer, linking to the updated policy. And as Game File Steven Tutulu spotted, the wording from license for digital products section has been altered. The agreement for UK accounts now states digital products are licensed only for personal, non-commercial use, and that any unauthorized use of a digital product may result in the digital product becoming unusable.
Remember, when they say unauthorized, they mean what we deign to allow you to do. Because remember, you will own nothing and be happy.
Anyway, all okay. The agreement for UK accounts now state be unused. This differs slightly from US, which states you acknowledge that if you fail to comply with the foregoing restrictions, Nintendo may render the Nintendo account services and or the applicable Nintendo device permanently unusable in the whole or in part. Oh, so this is in the United States. For comparison, here's the original wording effective since April 2021. You are not allowed to lease, rent, sub-license, publish, copy, modify, adapt, translate, reverse engineer, decompile, or disassemble all or any portion of Nintendo account services without Nintendo's written consent or unless otherwise expressly permitted by applicable law. And here's the UK update in full. Any Nintendo digital purpose registered to your Nintendo account, and any updates of such digital products are licensed only for personal, non-commercial use on a user device. Digital products must not be used for any other purpose in particular without Nintendo NOEs. Is that Nintendo of Europe's? Written consent. You must either lease nor rent digital products nor sub-license, publish, copy, modify, adapt, translate. Okay, this is a lot of legalese. U.S. updates follows without limitation. You agree that you may not publish, copy, modify, reverse engineer, lease, rent, decompile, disassemble, blah, blah. Okay. Nintendo America account privacy has also been updated ahead of the release of Switch 2. Now Nintendo will be able to record a video and voice chat stored on your console for a limited period of time if you give consent. What do you mean if you give consent? I think you have to hit an agreement or you can't use the option. This is intended for anyone who encounters language or behavior that may violate applicable laws, with the company able to review the last 3 minutes of recorded footage. This is to ensure safe and family-friendly online environment. I assume this is in case somebody decides to flash a 6-year-old playing Mario Kart. I don't know. The update comes ahead of the game chat feature on Switch 2, where players can essentially video call each other during gameplay. All right. Nintendo has confirmed that it will only review video and audio recordings as part of its user report system. All recordings is otherwise privately stored on device, and no recording is sent to Nintendo until a report is submitted. Nintendo sent a statement on game file. What do you think?
I think I want to thank Nate so much for the $5 super chat to say Happy Mother's Day to Netters. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I will say, I go through periods of figuring out which console I hate the most or console manufacturer I hate the most. Oddly enough, I think Sony is coming out best right now, which I think is insane because I don't really like Sony, but Microsoft has just been terrible with the Xbox Series. So just complete flub. And Nintendo with the Switch too, I'm really not liking any of this stuff. Keep in mind too, another problem going on with Nintendo is a few years ago, Satoru Iwata was in charge of Nintendo. He was during the Wii era. Satoru Iwata was cool because he actually started out as a game programmer. They say he rescued Pokemon when the cartridge was coming out and they needed to get it on the cartridge. He was able to reprogram it to fit. He was that brilliant. He actually created a version of Joust for the NES to show the guys over at Atari in case they wanted to bring out the NES over here in the States instead of Nintendo. Atari declined, but he knew how to program. So he before, I think he married Yamauchi's daughter, so he was allowed to become president after Yamauchi resigned or retired because he was old at that point. Terrifying man, Yamauchi. But anyway,
well, horrible company.
Well, compared to what though? Compared to Sony, Microsoft, any of our other entertainment leaders?
No, now, I am not saying that comparison doesn't matter. What's wrong is wrong. I don't care if everybody's wrong; it's still wrong.
Okay. Point is, I just know people are getting angry at Nintendo. A lot of people are out there saying, "I'm not going to buy." They're saying Switch 2 is horrible.
Well, I hope that they're legit about that, and they don't.
But they never are. That's the problem.
Then they may as well shut their mouths. I mean, I'm not going to buy anything from Nintendo, but that's hardly saying anything. It's not like I'm changing my habits. But then again, it is the truth.
Well, I don't really have a need to. Well, if Santa were to put a certain game under my tree, I couldn't stop that from happening. But like Metroid Prime 4. But again, not much else is coming out from my Nintendo Switch. Switch hacker ordered to pay $10 million. This is from a couple years ago. I just threw this on here to just to show you how ruthless Nintendo can really be.
Yeah.
This is a little terrifying. So I'm just going to say this. Switch hacker ordered to pay. This is from a couple years ago. This is not new news. Switch hacker ordered to pay $10 million and 25 to 30% of his income to Nintendo. Despite serving jail time, a Nintendo Switch hacker has said that he will not only have to pay $10 million in fines, but will also be required to give 25 to 30% of his income to the company for the rest of his life. Gary Bowser, a member of the hacking group Team Exeter. Isn't that funny how Bowser keeps showing up here?
Yeah.
Stated in a recent interview that while he will be released from jail early due to good behavior, he will be required to pay Nintendo $10 million, as well as 25 to 30% of his income for the rest of his days, a significant increase from the $320,000 he reportedly earned while working within the group. Bowser has only paid $175 of the total fine of $14.5 million, with a small payments of $25 deducted from his job at the prison library. Bowser's pay in any future employment will be. I'm sorry, I lost my spot. Give me a minute. Okay. Bowser's pay in any future employment will be significantly reduced once he's released, as Nintendo will be able to take up to 30% of it until everything is paid off. Oh, okay. I originally thought it was $10 million in addition to 30% of his income for the rest of his life. I didn't realize it's 30% until the $10 million's paid off.
Which
Okay.
it means he'll be doing it all of his life, because who's ever going to see $10 million in their lifetime?
Maybe he'll win the lottery. I'm being facetious. Okay. Or maybe that's okay. Bowser and Team Exeter.
No, I think Nintendo's won the lottery.
Okay. Bowser and Team Exeter members Max Lauren and Wanning Chen were indicted in 2020 for selling chips that allowed Switch owners to play pirated games on the console. He was the only one of the three to be convicted and was charged with 11 felonies, including wire fraud, to which he pleaded guilty for 2 charges, resulting in $4.5 million fine, followed by an additional $10 million fine, up to 40 months in jail. Bowser's activities, according to Nintendo, caused damages greater than $65 million, with Team Executor making at least tens of millions of dollars in proceeds during its operations. This is another example of Nintendo taking copyright infringement seriously, as the company has previously targeted channels that make videos on modded content within its games, such as fan-made multiplayer mode for Breath of the Wild. That's interesting. If you're playing a modded Nintendo game on your YouTube channel, they will make you remove it. That's interesting. It appears that the company is strengthening its IP protection as it prepares to release Tears. Now, this is from a couple years ago. I did see it was popping up in a lot of my feeds, and I looked into it recently. I was like, oh, so this was from a couple years ago. So yeah. Let's see. I want to give a warning to everyone here. You can there are ways you can sometimes Amazon will sell these little boxes that have recently released games on them that aren't official ports. You can also go to certain sites and sail the high seas. My only worry is, please don't do this with Nintendo products, as I have no idea what they will or be able to do to you. They do not mess around. Now, so far, I don't think I've heard a case of them going after someone who buys or downloads these things. It's usually them going after people who distribute this stuff, but I don't know. Now we have one more article on Mario Kart. This one's kind of funny.
Yeah, it is. They're so rich, and they steal so much money from people, and they destroy all their enemies, and yet they can't afford to pay artists to make their marketing material.
So Nintendo has responded to accusations that it used AI images for its upcoming Mario Kart World game. According to Eurogamer, viewers of the recent Nintendo Treehouse livestream focusing on Mario Kart World claimed that a couple of in-game advertisements look to be created by AI. First is an image of 2 advertisements from Koopa Construction Company noting they build your town and we build your dreams. These viewers also allegedly took issue with the billboard featuring an exaggerated vehicle. That's the picture I posted here. A Nintendo spokesman, not very DEI. Responded to these accusations in a statement to Eurogamer, denying that it features AI-generated images. AI-generated images were not used in the development of Mario Kart World. What do you make of Nintendo's response? Anything? Am I still here?
Yes, you're still here.
Okay. Well, Troy, I didn't know if Troy wanted to answer that. What do you make?
I'm
of
sorry, I
Nintendo's
had to step
systems?
away for a second. I figured you were reading.
Well,
So I
Nintendo says no. We're not doing the AI response. I don't know. I'm gonna have to. I mean, I have to
I
take
feel
them at
like
their
we need
word.
that noir game meme doubt.
There's a lot of blank space left next to that car. That's a little odd.
Yes,
But
it absolutely is.
not
I
that.
mean, if this isn't, I mean, there really is no good answer to this. Either this is AI and you're cheaping out, or whoever you hired sucks.
They're not cheaping out. They're charging $80 for the game.
Good point. Exactly.
Okay,
we're gonna fleece you on the order, and we're gonna spend as little as we can on marketing.
So you used to have a quote you used from Dark Knight where you say you either die the hero or live long enough to be considered the villain. Or is that what's going on here?
Yeah,
Remember
but
2 years ago, Nintendo was the hero of the culture war, and everybody was saying.
I mean, I'll take your word for that. I've never known much about them. The more I learn about them, the more I realize they were always villains, apparently.
No, I'll say this: they haven't been this bad since the early days of them trying for a monopoly on console gaming. This thing, them going after Pal World. We're going to see how this goes in court. I don't think they've never gone to this extreme recently. I mean, they did do some underhanded things, like remember the whole violence in video games thing during the 16-bit Mortal Kombat. Supposedly, Nintendo had sent Senator Joseph Lieberman a video showing all the fatalities from the Sega Genesis version to make Joseph Lieberman start complaining about violent games. And then Nintendo says, well, our games, we cut that content out. And of course, then they released Mortal Kombat 2 with all the content in, because basically Nintendo got lumped in by Joseph Lieberman with Sega anyway, because he didn't distinguish between. But that was an underhanded thing Nintendo did. Nintendo also said they were coming out with a CD add-on for the Super Nintendo, but then they decided not to come out with it because it was all basically a ruse to get people not to buy a Sega CD, because they figure, oh, this Nintendo CD is coming. I don't have to get a Sega CD. Nintendo never planned to bring it out. The joke was on them, though, because Sony had worked on it, and Sony said, fine, we'll release it on our own. And they called it the Sony PlayStation.
Yeah, and again, I just want to keep, and I mentioned this on one of my liquid lunches last month. Just remember, people, when it comes to games, toys, model trains, whatever your hobby is, these are luxury items. These are not necessities. Okay, you can withhold your money from these companies. Just saying, because if you don't, you're complicit in the BS that they're doing.
But Nintendo upped the game price to $100. They could not wait for Grand Theft Auto 6. They've upped it to $80. Now, I will say this. A lot of people were saying thanks to Nintendo when Microsoft announced its $80 price hike. I think Microsoft or Xbox was already planning to do it. I don't know what Sony's planning, but I have a suspicion the whole industry is moving toward this.
And I'm waiting to hear them raise it again and blame the tariffs.
Well, anything's possible. Anyway, but I will say this: Nintendo's not been popular the last month or two. Maybe they should
wonder why.
Maybe they should look at this bad press and maybe instead of
when I do the clips for this week, I am doing this whole Nintendo thing and just calling it Nintendo is evil.
But you see, you called me a Nintendo Stand Friday. You have not met Nintendo stands yet. I forget what they're called. Some people use a derogatory term for them. They're called Nintendo drones. There are people who will fight with a
that's
nail.
A good one. I like that. Like when we say Hasbros. Yeah.
Yes. But here's the deal. Well, Nintendo drones. Yeah. But the thing is, I used to argue I have a love-hate relationship with Nintendo. They would do things to make me angry. I'd quit buying for them. Then they get back to normal and I buy from them again. At this point, I'm just tired. I'm pretty much done with the Switch anyway. I'm pretty much done with console gaming for a while. And I'm going to be, because basically I don't own any new consoles right now. When the Switch 2 comes out, I will
officially PC from now on. I think that's a good idea.
I don't PC game. I don't know if Steam has any skeletons in its closet. Of course, there is a theory that Steam is eventually going to come out with a Steam box that'll kind of be like their console for TVs.
Oh my God.
It's rumored. No, it makes sense because they already have a Steam Deck, which is a portable thing you can use, and you can hook that up to your TV. So it would make only sense to have a Steam box, right? You'd be able to bring all your Steam games over to it.
I don't really understand why I would need that. I've already got it all on my PC. I play on my PC.
Because I
don't
like
need it on my
consoles.
TV.
I like a thing I hook up to my TV, not a computer. Computers go on a
Okay.
monitor in the corner of your room, and you sit there by a computer all by yourself.
No, but I can use my TV as a monitor. So I have the best of both worlds.
Oh, you're talking rocket science to me right now. I don't know what this is all about. Anyway,
this is why we call you Boomer.
Anyway,
Well,
yeah, I'm a boomer because I'm gonna say this: I did not get into console video games until I got an NES, and I was like, "Wow, this is so simple. I can just take a game and plug it into the NES, and it's all there."
I didn't get the hard drugs until someone gave me my first try for free.
Do you know what my first game console that I bought with my own money after the NES was when I was going up to 16 bits? I didn't go for Nintendo. I went with the TurboGrafx 16. You don't even know what that is, do you?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm getting wah 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 wah.
Well, there we go. See? Let's move on. PC gaming was expensive. People forget this. Owning a good, there are plenty of crappy PCs you could buy. My dad would never get. I never got the good graphics card, so I'm like, I want a console where everything's ready for me to play, and I don't have to worry about getting all these updates. I was a kid. I didn't have that kind of money.
So let's get back to why DEI is so freaking ridiculous now, and how it has nothing to do with actual diversity. Okay, it has to do with division.
Well, here we go. We can bash another video game company. Go ahead and post the link. Did you already?
I did. Mm-hmm.
I don't.
I thought I did. Yeah, I did.
Didn't. Well, maybe highlight it for me. Okay. Oh, well, whatever. Okay, I'll do it. So Civilization.
Oh, wait a minute. This is one of those ones where I have to do it in pieces because it's just too damn long.
That's
Hold
Nintendo
on
again. Never mind. That's not Nintendo.
My apologies. So this is the title of the article. And then I'll drop.
I heard there was horses in Legend of Zelda. I think Nintendo could sue Civilization. So I'm kidding.
I know. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if you throw a ball in a game. If you ride a horse, if you play an ocarina, you better make it a piccolo. No, because they own the rights to playing any kind of musical instrument. I think.
I will say this though. None of this is good PR for the company right now. They're just not looking good right now. I'm seriously wondering how the Switch 2 is going to be in 2 or 3 years. We'll see. We'll see. They have gotten arrogant. I will admit that. Civilization 7 roasted after promotional trailer depicts black female as lead.
Ridiculous.
Well, Sid Meier's Civilization 7 was once again roasted for its DI agenda as it depicted a black female woman leading a group of East Asians. In a promotional video seemingly aiming at humor, Sid Meier's Civilization 7 showed a black woman leading a group of Asians and declaring that a captured land will be called Puddington because Melvin 392's glorious sweet tooth is craving sugary spoils. The video has only been viewed 24,000 times, but approximately 2,800 downvotes compared to just 99 upvotes. The comments are near unanimously negative or derisive for the ad. One wrote, "Remember to stop giving money to people who hate you." Another questioned, "What is this? Who is this for?" One wrote, "In my opinion, black woman in charge of a group of Mongols is top-tier comedy." Another, "Never forget that their Insta page had to take this post down because every comment was saying their community manager should be fired." Part of me is, I see a black woman leading a Mongolian army. I don't know what this is for, but it's very insulting to East Asians, wrote one. How about a Chinese leading the European Union and the American Revolutionary Army? I assume they're talking about
that's a great analogy, actually.
Another commented, "Humankind 7, a game made not for Civ fans. I'm actually impressed," said one. "I didn't think they could have actually made it less likely for me to buy this game, but somehow they managed to do so. I brought and played the series since Civilization 2, but seeing something like this is so repulsive to me that I won't buy this game at 90% off with all the DLC included. Get woke, go broke," says another person. One rejected
Yeah.
the IP's catchphrase, no more turns, please. Another question, why didn't the time, money that went into this go into making the game better? Still another ask, a question for the authors, the script writers, what were you smoking when you came up with this? I have a theory, and I think maybe this didn't come across in the ad. Would this usually be like you have this woman leading this army who obviously is not from Mongolia, right? Leading the hordes, and then maybe it would...
Oh, I don't know. Is this maybe based on some legend about someone who may or may not have been female and may not have been dark-skinned and what maybe
what
Genghis Khan was a black woman? I don't know.
what I'm trying to say is maybe it would have then zapped out to an image of her in front of her computer, and that's the player. Now, that may not have been what happened in the ad. They may just have
I'll
shown
tell
it.
you, if they had done that, that would have been a completely different thing. Look,
Yes.
it's messaging, right? And
Yes.
and if you're in marketing and that's your message, you better get that message across. If you don't, you're gonna get roasted for it.
Okay, but I'm sorry for the overreaction. This is supposed to be a representation of a player getting into a game that I think people are going to... Possibly, yes. That's what I was
Yes,
saying.
but that's exactly what he just said. But what I'm saying is, if that's the case, you failed to get that message across.
Okay.
You flubbed it. If you're in marketing and you can't get that message across, you're fired. That's the way it should
So
be.
probably what you would do with this ad is you would say, "Well, I'm leading the Mongolian army." Then someone says, "Janice, it's time for dinner" or something, and then she gets up from the computer. Do you understand that? That would have
And
been
you
how you
also
do
have
that.
to
Yes.
you also
Okay.
have to keep in mind that, if that was the case and they did this in 1984, it would have made a lot more sense. In the
Okay.
in the situation that we find ourselves now, people are a little bit raw ever since the what was that game with the Black Samurai? It's like,
That was Assassin's Creed Shadows. Yes, but the thing
yeah,
is,
we're tired of this stuff. We see this
I
stuff and we go, no.
what I'm trying to say is, though, I think that was their intent with the ad. It's like, this is a player playing the game. This isn't an actual person, but
Well,
obviously
I say
people
the
took
same thing I
reaction.
say
Yes.
to J.K.
Yes.
Rowling when she said her intent was that Dumbledore was gay. You didn't put
Okay.
it in the book.
All right. Anyway, moving on though to the next thing. Does anybody else have anything to say about this? Let's move on but people did get angry. They
Yeah,
had to shut off.
Oh, by the way, that last article came to us from Christoph over at the Vagrancy Horror.
Thank you for submitting
and
that to us.
And this one is coming from Mark Melnikoff, the regular contributor.
Okay.
I think he contributes more articles than I do at this point.
All right, let's see if we can get that on here.
I got to do it in pieces because they're so
These are
long.
huge.
I didn't get around to shortening them.
Yeah, this is the new Xbox portable system. People are not happy about this. Let's get into it. That's their opinion, not mine. I'm not buying it, but oh crap, I lost my place again. Maybe you'll want to buy this, huh? Little portable
Probably
Xbox
not,
toy?
but tell me why I should like this.
I don't know. Let's read the article. Okay, so new photo. Now this is a leak. New photos have leaked from the FCC. Appear to confirm that an Xbox branded handheld gaming console is coming soon. Listing shows two versions of Asus ROG Ally 2 handheld, a dark model with a dedicated Xbox labeled button with the top left, and a white version of the same button blacked out. The latter could carry a different function or be removed altogether from the production model, according to the leak and related. So this is a leak. Remember how the Switch 2 leaked? Apparently, Nintendo is suing the people that leaked it right now. But anyway, That's another thing. The model otherwise looks identical, but carry different specs. According to other parts of the listing, both have 7-inch 120 hertz displays. But ROG Ally 2 Xbox version will come with an AMD 8-core 36W Ryzen Z2 Extreme and 64 gigabyte LPDDR5X memory, while the regular model RC73YA will pack in an AMD 4-core 20-watt AMD Aerith Plus chip, memory unknown. Compared to ROG Ally, the ROG Ally 2 has a thicker design with more rounded grips. It also offers a pair of USB-C controllers, along with HDMI and 3.5 millimeter connectors, according to the review. So why would it come with controllers unless this is something you can also hook up to your TV? It is not known yet what the Xbox button will do, but Microsoft is expected to add features like support for the Xbox Game Bar, Play Anywhere functionality, and Game Pass Ultimate. It could go even deeper, possibly launching the Xbox app on Windows, according to video cards. Some peripherals like Backbone One already carry an Xbox button to open up the Xbox guide, showing available games and more. We'll have to wait and see more details, but as Engadget's Sam Rutherford put it, the case for an Xbox handheld seems so obvious, it's kind of surprising Microsoft didn't announce one years ago. So I don't have a comment on this, actually, because it's not official yet. We don't know. I don't fully know what this thing can do. The handheld looks, in my opinion, like a piece of crap. Okay, well, don't hold back, Curtis Selby. Let me see. Geek5 was making this in the prior thing. Vikings having a real Viking king played by a black woman, a real life Viking king. That was incredibly stupid. Yeah, well, I didn't watch Vikings. I did watch the pilot, but I didn't get into it. If it is designed to use USB-C ports, it might enable it to hook up to a TV. That's what I'm thinking. So yeah, maybe this is their attempt to make a Switch competitor.
Could be.
Interesting. It could be more powerful than the Switch. I don't know what the Switch 2 specs are right now. People were a little upset because Digital Foundry is usually good at spec work, but then turns out they were taking sponsorships from Nintendo, so now people are worried if they're going to be biased. That looks like someone burned it and then took the photo. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a prototype.
It does. It really does.
Now, I will not look. I'm not a huge Xbox fan right now, but I have to give Xbox a chance to actually do a showcase of this and tell us what it's all about. Maybe they'll impress us. Why don't you sell cartridges? Let me buy physical media. That's all I want. Not game key cards like Switch 2 has.
Yeah, they don't want you to have anything physical. They want to have their hand in your pocket at all times. And if you allow it, you just sell yourself into slavery. That's fine.
So now back over to Apple.
Yes, let's get into this one. Let's talk.
I didn't actually end up attacking Microsoft tonight. Okay.
Let's talk antitrust law and maybe the law kind of works the way it should for once.
A federal judge ruled that Apple must immediately stop charging commissions on purchases made outside its App Store, dealing a major blow to the tech giant's control over its lucrative app ecosystem. Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers found that Apple had willfully violated her previous 2021 injunction in the long-running legal battle with Epic Games. Apple's continued attempts to interfere with competition will not be tolerated, wrote Gonzalez-Rogers in her 80-page ruling. The judge also referred the case to U.S. attorneys to review for possible criminal contempt proceedings against both Apple and one of its executives. Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney celebrated the decision, declaring on social media no fees on web transactions. Game over for the Apple tax. Apple's 15 to 30% junk fees are now just dead here in the United States of America as they are in Europe. Do you think tech platforms should charge commissions on external purchases made by app users? The ruling prohibits Apple from imposing any commission or any fee on purchases that consumers make outside an app and blocks the company from restricting developers' place of links for external purchases. In her decision, Gonzalez-Rogers stated that Apple Vice President of Finance Alex Roman had outright lied under oath about the company's decision to implement a 27% commission on purchases made through web links. This is an injunction, not a negotiation. There are no do-overs once a party willfully disregards a court order, the judge wrote, emphasizing that time is of the essence. Apple responded in a statement, "We strongly disagree with the decision. We will comply with the court's order and we will appeal." Following the ruling, Sweeney announced the Epic's popular game Fortnite would return to the iOS App Store next week after removed in 2020 when the legal battle began. It's a huge victory for developers, Sweeney said. That means all developers can offer both Apple's payment service side by side with their own payment service. Sweeney also extended an olive branch to Apple, stating, Epic puts forth a peace proposal. Apple extends the court's friction-free Apple tax framework worldwide. Will return Fortnite to the App Store worldwide and drop current and future litigations on this topic. Basically telling them to back down and we'll do what you're supposed to do and we'll let this go. That's what it sounds like, right?
Right. So let me break this down. Okay, this is very sanitized, article trying to be unbiased. Let me be very clear what happened here. What Apple did was it used its monopoly power to force app developers into paying them 30% fees on any purchase ever made on their app, even if the purchase was made off-site, even if it wasn't on the Apple Store. The court said that this is antitrust behavior violating the Clayton and the Sherman Acts. Okay? So they ruled 4 years ago in 2021 that Apple can't do this anymore. So what does Apple do? They find another way to do the exact same thing. They continue to impose the same 30% fee, and they did it in a new, more egregious way than they did than what they were doing before. So Epic Fortnite goes to the judge and points it out, and the court holds hearings, and one of their chief officers testifies and perjures himself denying it. Then it turns out in discovery with their own internal documentation, their internal emails, there were conversations of them specifically brainstorming how they could do exactly that. And now Apple is stripped of any off-app control. And they're going to appeal it. They, of course, disagree with this. Well, it's a damn shame. Now, remember, folks, I did mention the Clayton Act and the Sherman Antitrust Act. Those do not make it illegal to be a monopoly. They make it illegal for you to engage in anti-competitive behavior. Okay? So let's say you are the only maker of widgets, okay? And that would technically make you a monopoly on widgets. That's not your fault. That's not illegal because there's no one out there besides you making widgets. But if someone comes to the market and says, you know what, I think I want to make widgets. I guess to make widgets, I'm going to have to buy this specific material, in order to make widgets myself, because that's what widgets are made out of. And your company says, nope, we own all of it and you're not allowed. That is specifically using your monopoly to prevent someone else from breaking into the business. That's anti-competitive behavior, and that's what's specifically illegal. And that's how you get your company busted up. So this could result in criminal charges against Apple. So yeah, go ahead and appeal this while you're fighting off potential criminal charges. That's really freaking brilliant, Apple. And there's no incentive not to go after it because the administration would have the best possible political cover. You have one of the leading censors in the world, one of the leading China communist party in the world, one of the leading coof propaganda promoters in the world, one of the leading problem actors in the world, with liberal judges referring them for criminal prosecution. Remember, it was specifically a liberal judge who said, yeah, this is criminal, and the administration should look into prosecuting this. What better opportunity? If the Northern District of California has any sense, they'll put Tom Cook and his chief executive officers under criminal prosecution and some of their corporate lawyers that suborned perjury under prosecution as they deserve. I rest my case.
Geek Flag says, preach, brother Troy, preach. For $2. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring it down. Yes. Thank you for the $2 super
Boy,
chat.
I'm glad that I'm also not an Apple product buyer like I'm a Nintendo product buyer, because Troy might really be mad at me now. To be fair, I don't really buy stuff off their app store.
You buy what you want to buy. I'm just telling you, this is what you're supporting when you buy this stuff. Just saying.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, though, okay. Sorry, I thought it was something in the private chat. Okay. Yeah, Apple bad, but again, though, the weird thing about Apple is I just use them for computer purposes. I don't think I buy
He uses
entertainment
Apple instead
products.
of using a real computer. I understand.
You know something?
Just saying.
I use a real computer at my job. When I come home, I like to use a not Windows computer. I don't like Windows. And now you're going to say, what about Linux? I know. Okay, let's just move on to let's move on to a happy news story tonight, huh? You like happy
Mafia,
news?
the old country.
Not this.
I don't know
Not the
how I
game.
feel about this. It sounds Sicilian to me. I don't know. I'm kind of two minds about this, but let's go.
I never asked you. Do you have Sicilian blood in you? I don't know if I ever asked you.
I hope not.
Okay, you never know. Well, we never know.
I think the Italian side of my family is all Italian.
And
I know you got Sicilians going. Wait, Sicilian is Italian. I don't know, man.
Oh man,
You're not part of the booth there.
Don't. Let's not. Anyway, it's amazing what we can find out about our own ancestry sometimes, though. But Mafia: The Old Country is a folks experience that doesn't require massive time commitments. For €45, that's not American money. $50 in the US. Mafia: The Old Country will launch on PC via Steam, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series XS on August 8th. Publisher 2K has now officially confirmed. This is the release date previously listed on 2K on Steam before it was swiftly removed. So it's nice to know that Grand Theft Auto 6 delayed by fellow Take-Two company Rockstar hasn't changed anything. Sorry, 2K is Take-Two. Okay, or maybe it's not. I don't know. Anyway, in a press release issued today maybe 2K. 2K and Rockstar are both owned by Take-Two. Okay, I think that's what that is. Don't quote me on that. I don't know everything. In a press
Dude, I don't know this stuff. You're the one who's supposed to know this stuff.
I know. Look, I actually have all three of the Mafia games, the prior 4 ones. I have those.
You just don't know who makes them.
No, I don't pay. You know what? I don't have a time to be an expert on every single thing.
Okay.
In a press release issued today alongside a gameplay trailer below, 2K also revealed a $50 price point for the game. Meanwhile, developer Hangar 13 set expectations that Mafia: The Old Country would be a focused linear experience. In other words, relatively short and easily digestible alongside players' usual live service diet. Mafia: The Old Country gameplay trailer. You can watch it on YouTube. There's a link in the article. We think there's a large audience for compelling stories that don't require massive time commitments. That's interesting, said 2K president David Ismailer. We're excited to offer the game like Mafia: The Old Country in our portfolio and to provide a linear, highly polished narrative experience that can easily complement the other more persistent games our players also love and engage with on a more consistent basis. In other words, don't stop playing Grand Theft Auto Online just yet. Okay. Set in Sicily, the aforementioned old country back in the 1900s, the latest entry in the Mafia series has been angled as something of a return to the franchise's roots after the more modern era open world Mafia 3. First announced last year at Gamescom 2024, it's the next entry in the series from Mafia 3 and Mafia Definitive Edition Studio Hangar 13, and the first to make use of Unreal Engine 5. I watched the trailer. This looked rather neat. So it's almost like, remember Godfather Part 2, where never mind. I don't know. It's basically it's the mafia in Italy at this time around instead of the mafia in the United States, which is what the other games were. And those games, I don't know about Mafia 3. I know I think the first couple were period pieces, like in the 1940s, 1950s, kind of like Godfather, but like in a video game form. Do you understand? And this one, in fact, I think the original Mafia game, you could collect issues of Playboy magazine as freebies. I don't know if they were full issues or not, but it was kind of a neat thing they had in the game. But they would have been issues from that era. Yeah.
You did mention that they're using Unreal Engine 5, so that means all the women will have man faces and no breasts.
Okay. I think this game looks like a good artistic experience from the trailer. See, here you go, all already being negative on this. I think this is going to be a treat.
I'm not saying anything against the game itself. I'm just saying they chose to use a tool that we already know has programmed in uglifying women.
Are you sure that that's in the engine, or is that just a
there have been a number of developers who have said we have tried and the stock basic stuff is this, and it requires a great
Really? I
deal of
think we
work.
did an article
Yeah.
on that. I don't think
Yes, we did.
okay,
Mhm.
wow. Okay. Well, I hope that that's not the case with
And
this
I'm
game.
not saying that. So let me be very clear. I am taking a shot at the people behind Unreal Engine. I am not taking a shot at this company that's putting out Mafia, because you got to use the tools you have available to you.
Ah. Mafia is in Sicily. Italy is in the Camorra. Okay, fair enough. I would imagine Troy would know more about this than I, right? I don't know.
I
Maybe
know nothing. I
I,
don't know nothing. I don't say nothing.
it's like you're too afraid to say something. It's like
It's not fear. It's respect. It's
yeah,
respect.
yeah. It's like Nintendo.
I have no respect for
Well, I
Nintendo.
said you should have fear for Nintendo.
That is very interesting. I have no respect for Nintendo, but I respect the Mafia.
Well,
Go
you should
figure.
fear. I don't know, man.
In other words, I'm saying that in my opinion, the Mafia is better than Nintendo.
Well, anyway, I think this game looks compelling, but we're missing the whole point of this article though in here.
Good. Let the FBI listen. Go after Nintendo, please.
Well, if they are violating hiring practices, then they can go after them that way, and I welcome them do that. If Nintendo America is in fact doing that, which I'm not convinced they are, but they might be. Maybe they change the policy, then go after them. What was I going to say though about I don't think my Nintendo Switch is listening to you right now, right? I see smoke coming out of it. What's going on here? Wait.
They bricked it.
Okay. Anyway, the important thing about this article is this, and I don't know if I read the whole in it, is that it's $49.99 for the base game. If you want with special like DLC, like extra costumes and stuff, or maybe a special vehicle, it's another $10, $59.99. Which I'm sure if you want to buy it at $49.99 and get the DLC later for $9.99, you can do that too. This is what it's telling me. This article is telling me. This is telling me that there is a company out there that is a little worried about $80 becoming the norm.
Yeah.
They're still trying to keep things. Look, you can just buy our game for $49.99. You get a full experience. It's not going to be a massive open world like Grand Theft Auto, but it's going to be a fun narrative-driven game where you get to go to the old country. And it's kind of neat about this trailers. You have people driving in old-fashioned cars, but also because it's the old country Sicily, people are still doing horses and carriages too.
Sure.
So
this is a tried and true business model. When the prices are all going up and you look and you go, I don't have to do that. You keep your prices low and continue to provide a good product, and people will start gravitating to you.
Yes.
This is not, a big shock. It shouldn't be a shock to anybody. You don't have to get into high level economic theory to understand this. It's just cause and effect. I charge less. People will be more willing to try my product. If they like it, I will keep their business.
Anyway, when
now, if the head of the Casa Nostra is, a black woman of, a particular persuasion of bedroom activities, I think we might have a bit of a problem.
Now, I believe, I'm not an expert on Mafia 3, but I believe Mafia 3 did feature a black protagonist, but I think it was about a black gangster going up against the Mafia, and that was being taken from a different perspective.
That actually makes a lot of sense in terms of
history.
Again, right? I don't want to get too into detail, but yes, that would be an appropriate story. Let's just put it that way.
So it was anyway, but moving on to another John Wick spinoff. I did see a trailer for Ballerina because I went to see The Accountant 2 this week. And this is from Mark Malikoff. Thank you for the submission.
Yes,
and Rina Sawaana to reprise role.
I am 99% certain you mispronounced that, but I have no idea.
Sawayama. Rina Sawayama. I'll get better. Is going to reprise her role as Akira in Donnie Yen's John Wick spinoff. Kane. Oh, that's interesting. They're giving Kane his own movie. He was a character in John Wick 4, I believe. He was interesting. That was a very interesting movie because Yeah, you have to catch up on John Wick, dude. But you
do.
may not
I
have to
do.
watch Ballerina, because I watched the trailer for Ballerina, and Ballerina is in the world of John Wick, and it's about Anna de Armas going on a
You
thing
had
on
me at Anna de
revenge.
Armas. We're done.
And then they're like, they're gonna send people after you, and they're gonna send him after you, Baba Yaga, and then suddenly John Wick shows up, and he's an antagonist in the movie. Do you understand?
Wow.
It's like from
Yeah.
her point of view, and he's an antagonist coming after her
Oh,
instead of it
sure,
being
sure,
from
sure.
his point of view. That's very interesting. It's Keanu
That's
Reeves
a
playing
great
John
way
Wick.
of telling a story because you're so
Yeah,
invested in him as the hero.
yeah,
You know,
yes.
but for him to be the antagonist in the story, that flips the script. That's a good way to subvert expectations.
Well,
That's
it
how
was
you're supposed to do it.
the dialogue scene is this. He says, "You've come to kill me," and she asks, and he says, "Not if you stop. I'm not going to stop." And so basically,
So
and it
then,
shows him
yeah, I
about to
guess I am
fight.
here to kill you.
Yeah, I don't know. It looked good. It looked good, and I like Anna de Armas, so I can't even pronounce Wick.
That's funny, Darth.
What? 94
Well,
bunch.
because I was making the comment about her name and Darth Plato says, I can't even pronounce Wick. So
Okay, she was an important character in the movie. I think I just don't remember. Okay,
yeah, I think you're right. I got to get caught
I
up.
have to rewatch it.
I wonder if
Okay,
there's like a multi-movie pack that I can get. Like
there might be
how many of them are there now?
4.
Okay, so maybe there's a 4-pack out there I can get.
Akira is coming back for more John Wick ass kicking. Rina Sawayama, who became a fan favorite as the fearless daughter of Hiroyuki Sanada's Shimazu Koji in John Wick Chapter 4. Oh, he was good too, yeah. Will reprise her role opposite Donnie Yen in the franchise's upcoming spin-off Kane for Lionsgate. First officially unveiled at CinemaCon, Kane is also being directed by Yen and produced by franchise producers Basil Iwanek and Erica Lee. John Wick Chapters 1 through 4 and Ballerina Monkey Man. Monkey Man's a different movie. It's up part of the Ballerina time. Okay, through their
Gotcha.
Thunder Road shingle and by Chad Stahelski. John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum Day Shift and John Wick Chapter 4 produces through his 87 11 Entertainment production banner. Yen will also serve as the executive producer on the project. I think this is going to be good too. I didn't even see the trailer, but I already like this. Rena is such a badass, said Stahelski. I love what she did with this role in Chapter 4, and I can't wait to see her cross paths with Kane once more. So this is going to be about 2 characters from John Wick 4 that... And it's funny, usually I get it kind of annoyed all these characters have a story, but in the John Wick universe, all these characters really do have a story, and I'm interested to learn about
And honestly,
Yeah.
that's good storytelling.
Yes.
That I bring that up with a lot of our rewatches. I was talking about, of all things, 4 Rooms the other day, talking about these different characters that they're little short stories within an anthology, and these characters have implied backstories, and you kind of wonder what happens to them afterwards. That's good writing.
Yeah. The daughter of the manager of Tokyo Continental. I remember. I need to rewatch John Wick 4, but I remember she was important. I've
Real
yet to
quick,
watch any of the Wick stuff. Oh,
I
go
do
ahead.
want to follow up on what Darth Plato had said. I can't pronounce Wick, and then follows up on that to say I keep saying Vic. They made me read a lot of German in schools. Yes, they have ways of making you talk. Yes,
I'm sure they're German characters in the John Wick movies too. It's very international in its scope.
oh yeah.
But yeah, no, I recommend the John Wick movies. They're a good time. Like I think someone was making an argument with everything going to crap. What are young boys looking to for their entertainment? They probably John Wick.
No,
He's an assassin,
they're
but he
probably
has
going on the internet and looking at things they shouldn't be looking at. That's what they're going to for entertainment.
Moving on to is that woman wearing a belt? It looks
yeah,
like
a belt wrapped around her. That's what
I
it
think
looks
it's
like.
a dress made out of belts. Okay. I don't know. I'm
Why
sure the
not?
movie will be good. Lionsgate needs a hit. Do you like my pick of Gollum?
That is kind of funny because it looks like a younger version of Gollum with hair.
This is from this horrible Lord of the Rings spin-off game called Gollum, which I do not believe was produced by Warner Brothers Game, even though I thought that at
Right.
the time, like, ooh, that's a bad-looking Andy Serkis Gollum. Then I realized, I don't think it was Warner Brothers had anything to do with it. I think it was
Right.
some other company that had game rights or something. But yeah, Lord of the Rings, the the hunt for Gollum. You excited? You gonna hunt for Gollum, huh?
No, I am not. I am
Well,
absolutely
maybe you
not.
can be a little more open-minded to this. Gollum will officially return to the big screen for Christmas 2027. Warner Brothers has announced that Andy Serkis, The Lord of the Rings and The Hunt for Gollum will open in theaters December 17th, 2027. Oh, they're putting money behind this. This will be their big holiday release. The studio has also dated the next Evil Dead movie starring Suhaila Yacoub for July 24th, 2026, and M. Night Shyamalan's Remain for October 23rd, 2026. Jake Gyllenhaal, Phoebe Denever, and Ashley Walters star in Shyamalan's latest. The release date for The Hunt for Gollum is hardly a surprise given all 6 movies in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films and the Hobbit film trilogies open in December ahead of the Christmas holiday. Each trilogy powered $2.9 billion at the worldwide
And
box
I
office.
would argue there are only 4 films. And if you want to watch The Hobbit, I highly recommend you look into the book edit. It is about half the length of those 3 movies, and it tells just the story of the book.
The release date for The Hunt for Gollum is hardly a surprise given all 6. Okay, yeah, sorry. Warner Brothers first announced The Hunt for Gollum last summer, and we reported on that, and it would be ready for theaters in 2026. The film has been delayed a year. Serkis is directing the tentpole and once again starring in the title role, which he has been playing via motion capture since 2002's Lord of the
What
Rings.
exactly is the story supposed to be?
It's The Hunt for Gollum.
I get that. When do they hunt for Gollum that we haven't already seen?
Well, the interesting thing is in the Lord of the Rings book, I remembered that the I think the elves or the men or somebody they had managed to capture Gollum because he was stalking about, but then they let him, but then he escaped on them. That was a side point in the Lord of the Rings book. So maybe it has to do with that. Any Tolkien
Okay.
experts in the chat that might know what this could be about, feel free to opine. Original Lord of the Rings trilogy announced filmmaker Peter Jackson's partners Fran Walsh and Phil Boyens are producing the new movie. Warner Brothers stressed when announcing Gollum that the trio will be involved in every step of the way. Boyens told Empire Magazine that the hunt for Gollum is quite an intense story and that falls after the birthday party at Bilbo and before the Mines of Moria. It's a specific chunk of incredible untold story told through the perspective of its incredible. Okay, so this is the part of the book where I think they had captured him, because this was a thing in the book where they had captured Gollum and they're having that meeting about what to do about the ring at Rivendell, right?
Right,
And then
right.
one of the guys says, "Oh, we got bad news. Gollum escaped on us." And it's like they're already having all this other horrible bad news about what Sorman's up to and everything else. And then, like, some guy says, "Oh yeah, we lost Gollum. We had." And they're like, "What?" It was, and it was kind of funny when I read it in the book because it's like just bad news after bad news at this meeting.
Yeah.
Boyens told Empire Magazine that the hunt for Gollum is quite an intense. Okay, we already said that. Original Rings cast members like Ian McKellen, Gandalf, Orlando Bloom, Legolas, and Viggo Mortensen and Aragorn have expressed interest in returning for the new film. Should this
Wow.
make sense for the characters to appear? Although, no, they're not involved in the hunt for Gollum.
No. See, I get what they're saying. If it makes sense for them to, if there's like a cameo, like at the beginning and at the end, I could kind of see that. Sure.
To be fair, this in the book, it wasn't. You don't see the hunt for Gollum in Lord of the Rings. It's mentioned that he had been captured, but then he got escaped again. Do you understand? So I think
Yeah,
they
so
were
this is like
hunting
a
for him.
Rogue
Yes,
One type story. They're telling a
yes.
story that doesn't need to be told because they're trying to find more content.
In fact, that probably explains how Gollum was able to follow Frodo and them, right? Because they had captured him near there, and then he escaped. So I think he was still clinging around,
Yeah.
stalking Frodo in the shadows, right? Remember when Gandalf said in the Mines of Moria, "Gollum's been following us." Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because he had been captured by, I think, the elves, and then he escaped on them. But they didn't mention that in the movie because there wasn't much point. But I guess now we're going to get a book, but a standalone movie. Are we excited for this?
I have no strong feelings one way or the other. If I hear that it's good, I'll certainly see it. But right now, I'm not. I'm not. Nothing.
Uh, Neurodiverse. Oh, Hunt for Sanity. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
let's see. Did I miss any comments here?
Gandalf
I'm
spent a
all over.
year searching for Gollum. He leaves after the party and comes back a year later. In the book, Gandalf doesn't come back for 17 years. There you go.
That's true. There was that's one thing they changed in the movies. There's this huge amount of years. I don't really know, but if we're gonna hazard a guess, it would be Hunt. It would be the Hunt Aragorn and Gandalf made of him in the books and Lord of the Rings. Okay, maybe that's what they'll do. But Viggo Mortensen's gotten a bit older than when he was in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Everyone's older. Orlando Bloom looked older in The Hobbit. I mean, he still maintains his looks, but he's looking older, and he's supposed to be younger.
He shouldn't have even been in The Hobbit. He shouldn't have even been in the damn Hobbit.
Maddy has an opinion.
Except giving a crap at me. Yeah, he's not wrong.
Can we have an airship battle in this Hunt for Gollum movie that never gets mentioned again?
Oh gosh.
Like sailing ships, but with like a dirigibles, and like they fight in the sky and Gollum's on there.
We need a strong black female leading the forces of Rivendell is what we need.
Anyway, let's move on to our next article. Oh, Batman.
Great picture, man.
The article didn't have. I picked this. You like that?
That's just, oh my gosh.
Like sad.
That's supposed to be there. Sparkly bats, by the way, but okay.
I think it's a take on Christian Bale, but I threw it in there.
Yeah.
One of the greatest fears about the Batman Part 2 might have manifested. There may be more bad news about the Batman Part 2 and its director. If it's true, it may be the worst yet, and something diehard fans have long feared. The Batman Part 2 has faced multiple delays since its 2022 announcement, so much so that even its current release date of October 2027 looks less feasible with each passing week. An unfinished script and reports of Robert Pattinson joining Dune 3, a movie set to shoot this summer, mere months before the Batman Part 2 is supposed to finish filming schedule, stoked fears among fans that the film would never see the light of day. Matt Reeves' position as director came into question in mid-April following comments from scooper Grace Randolph about the film's delay, stemming from the filmmaker dealing with a personal issue close to the seriousness of a Chadwick Boseman situation. Reputed we talked about that, didn't we? Reputed American journalist Jeff Schneider, speculation of Warner Brothers forcing Reeves out of the project if he doesn't get things together by the year's end didn't help either. Now it seems both may have been right. Matt Reeves' Batman sequel has turned into an attritional waiting game, which may not be worth it in the end. The latest issue of Production Weekly's, a prominent industry trade publication known for trafficking film development updates, indicates that Reeves may have withdrawn from the director's chair on the Batman Part 2. Holding onto his role as scriptwriter, filming for the movie has been shifted to March 2026. Of course, this is far from conclusive proof of anything regarding the Batman Part 2, but when read in conjunction with Randolph and Snyder's earlier statements, higher-ups at Warner Brothers stressing their belief in Reeves and his script, not necessarily his directing style, and the usual accuracy of Production Weekly, no one would be faulted for swallowing the news hook, line, and sinker. Reeves stepping down from the role as a key director is an unfortunate development for a story he helped create. Fans would likely wish he could get all of the support available in these trying times. Surely eyes and ears are now peeled for whoever succeeds him. The Raid director Gareth Evans has long been in the running for the Batman film, and he has the portfolio to justify it. Ben Affleck may get the chance that was denied him in favor of Reeves, but the actor has expressed his disdain for comic book genre of late. He's not going to do it.
Yeah, no.
And then they're the directors of HBO's The Penguin episodes, particularly Craig Zobel, who knows more than a thing or two about Reeves' world. I would pick one of them. They're already directing stuff in that world. They could probably direct the movie.
I will say something else. Putting aside, because we did talk about the whole Grace Randolph thing and the belief that there was a health issue going on there and so forth. Put all that aside. It doesn't matter. You put everything together and you have a development hell situation for this movie, and you got people starting to walk away from it. It doesn't even have to be for health reasons. It's just, I need to move on and do other things. And honestly, this was an aborted concept to begin with. When you divorce it from all the rest of your DC, live action projects, it's a go nowhere prospect anyway.
Well, see, I had originally thought, and I was wrong on this, that they were going to tie the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie to this, but that didn't end up being the case because they would end up having him be the Joker in this universe, but that's not what ended up happening. Let me go into underneath his somber atmosphere is a silver lining. Sort of, the Batman Part 2 is still happening, even though it shouldn't. A mini franchise that was supposed to churn out a trilogy has now been bogged down in uncertainties and the realization that a failed sequel a la Joker Filet Adieu could not do a project's legacy. It's not too late to close the curtains on the Batman sequel. But here's the deal. Joker was a movie that didn't really need a sequel. The Batman
Yep.
was setting itself up for a sequel.
Yes,
It even
but
got a
again,
pseudo
as
sequel
I
in that
point out,
Penguin show.
it's a movie that shouldn't have existed in the first place. This is a movie that existed only because of contractual obligations, not because it fostered their intellectual property. You know, I have zero faith in James Gunn, but they have ditched everything else and are going to James Gunn. They need to focus there. You can't be splitting up your franchise if you want to have any chance at any kind of success.
Well, because they have to do their own Batman movie in the Gunverse.
Yeah. And
without any Batman villains in it?
But what you got to remember is that this is Dave Zaslav, and he knows what he's talking about.
Well, this was another thing. People were wanting a Penguin season 2, but that was being held up by the Batman 2. But moving on to this next article,
because he is such a genius, he's got a thing or two to say.
David Zaslav.
Yep.
Declares this is the strongest HBO has ever been, likens it to NBC in a must-see TV era. Look for maybe a talk on that in future Last Call, maybe. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav believes this is the strongest HBO has ever been in its 53-year history, with a pop culture mojo reminiscent of NBC's must-see TV era. Speaking to Wall Street analysts on Warner Brothers Discovery's first quarter earnings call, Zaslav saluted HBO and Max content chief Casey Bloys as a generational talent, noting his senior leadership team has been together for 15 years, coming off the success of The White Lotus and the current quarter's Last of Us. Warner Brothers Discovery shareholder letter and earnings released prior to the call foregrounded HBO. When an analyst lobbied a softball over the plate, how was HBO able to turn out so many standout hits like this? Zaslav pounced. The idea of it's not how much, it's how good is something we identified, he said. We're not going to flood the zone. We want to be telling the best stories, and we want to be taking advantage of all the great quality content over the years, like Game of Thrones, and come out with House of the Dragon. Warner Brothers Discovery ended the quarter March 31st with 122.3 million global streaming subscribers, an increase of 5.3 million over the prior quarter as it rolls out into new markets, recently launching in Australia and Turkey. Oh, you can get HBO in Turkey now. The streaming growth was offset by notable declines in the traditional business, including an 11% over-the-year drop in linear advertising. Zaslav, a one-time attorney whose climb up the media industry ladder began at NBC in 1989, said anticipation around each HBO episode drop recalled the must-see TV era of his alma mater. HBO is a different model for storytelling than Netflix, he said. Without identifying the binge release streamer by name, we do it very similar to when I was at NBC with must-see TV. Whether it's Sunday night or Thursday night or Monday night, it becomes a cultural happening. That's part of a philosophy that this company of great storytelling with a shared experience.
I mean, it's a great idea. It's a great concept. I question whether or not the material is as good as he's claiming it is.
I don't know what Last of Us show has fallen off a cliff in the ratings recently because they got rid of their star.
Yeah. Well, and everyone's commenting on, they really did follow the source material very closely. But keep in mind that the source material pissed off all the fans and drove everyone away. So why would you think you would have a different reaction, to this?
House of the Dragon was undermined in season 2 with a shorter season. Yeah, it didn't get. People were expecting a big battle for the finale, which was which they were building up to, and then they didn't have
Which
it
kind
ready.
of undermines Zaslav's, quality over quantity. We didn't get enough quality for the less quantity you're talking about on that one.
I can't speak to White Lotus. I heard it's becoming people like it, I think, but I've not seen it myself. Last of Us is an on-screen endorsement of communism. Well,
yeah. Oh yeah, I saw that scene. I'm like, see, it works. I'm like, it works real well when you got a group of survivors, trying to get by. It falls apart every time. But you know what? These people are incapable of thinking.
look,
This is all them, circle jerking their fantasies, and that's why people are leaving the show now.
I'm one of the weirdos that, believe it or not, on Walking Dead, I know I'm supposed to see Negan as the bad guy, but I'm thinking he's probably fewer people are dying under him than under Rick Grimes. I'm sorry, we don't like him.
That's actually a good point.
They don't like him because he's a dictator, but okay, yeah, he is. But it's a zombie apocalypse out there, and the human race has to survive. I'm not saying he's a good guy, but I'm just saying it's a horrible situation. And yes, and, he even outlawed certain things, like you cannot force yourself on somebody else, if you know what I mean. In that thing,
Yeah.
he'll kill you outright if you do that. So there were even some rules in his
Which
society.
it's very interesting. If you talk to anybody, right? Vlad the Impaler, a horrible villain from history, right? Who stuck people up on spikes and blah 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 and this and that. I mean, you go to Romania and they're like, he defended us against the invading hordes, and he used scare tactics to do it, and you know he's a hero to them. So it really depends. What is your perspective?
I don't know. In the 1600s, there was an English town in Virginia that tried a community-owned system, fell apart pretty quick. I think I heard about that. Never hear about it in today's books.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And again, remember what I just said. I'm talking about a small community of people literally trying to survive. You really do almost need to be like a family.
People need incentives to work. You can encourage charity, but that's a different thing than forcibly making people give stuff up.
Once you start to become complacent and you don't have to worry about where your next meal is coming from, people start to get selfish, and that will always happen, and that will always destroy your little communist utopia every single time.
Law and Order,
which is why dictators want to keep all the people in communism starving, because then they can't revolt.
Mark Malnikoff.
Yeah, another one from Mark Malnikoff. This we shouldn't take a lot of time on.
Law and Order SUV and Law and Order Renewed for... I'm kidding, SUV. That's what Christopher Moltisanti called it on Sopranos.
Yeah.
Used to call it Law and Order SUV. Law and Order Renewed for 2025, 2026 after combined 50 seasons on NBC.
Honestly, I was like, this show is still going on. Either of these shows.
Yes.
I will admit, there was a time that Netter and I used to really love Law and Order SVU. And then I started seeing them go hard left.
Yep.
Because remember, keep in mind, these stories, they even used to bill themselves this way. Stories that are ripped right from the headlines.
Yep.
And they always took the worst lefty take on it. And I'm like, I'm done. I can't anymore.
They did an Angry Gamer episode that was based on a certain gate thing that happened. And of course, on one of these shows.
They did a certain Lives Matter thing too. And I'm like, no, I will not accept your view of reality. You maybe ought to stay away from things that are that broadly topical. You want to do a story about a case where somebody kills somebody or does bad things to somebody, and it's a particular case, that's fine if you want to fictionalize that. You want to do something more broad? No, I'm done with you. And welcome Robert's Infinite Realms. He says, "What's up, party people?" Yeah, we're coming down the back nine of this, we're just talking a little bit about. I don't know. Is anyone even still watching terrestrial television anymore? I mean, I don't know.
I'd like to go
Using
back to it.
Law and Order.
I'll say this. You know what I found on Amazon?
Huh?
Apparently, it's getting pretty good reviews. I mean, it's not cheap either, but someone has recreated a old style boombox.
Interesting.
I was watching videos on it, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to buy it now, but maybe if it goes on sale someday, I'll pick
I
it
will
up.
also say this. Not only did we watch SVU, we watched Criminal Intent. That was the one with
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Vincent D'Onofrio, yeah. When he was on that show, that was great. After he left, it kind of fell apart and it died, and I had really no interest in Law and Order anymore.
If you're a D'Onofrio fan, have you seen the movie The Salton Sea with Val Kilmer?
I don't think so.
I recommend it. He's one of the bad guys in that movie. He's called Pooh Bear. He's like a meth dealer. He's really scary in that movie.
Yeah.
And
Nate too says, yeah, my wife and I used to watch all the Law and Order, but we haven't watched it in almost 5 years. It's been longer for me. Netter held out for a little bit. When I stopped watching, she continued watching a little bit on one of her streaming things.
Right.
And then even she got away from it.
I always found it interesting, though, because I was a big fan of Homicide: Life on the Street back in the day, and it would sometimes do crossovers with Law and Order. I remember that. In fact, I think one of the characters on Homicide started being on one of the Law and Order shows. I think Much was on Law and Order for a while. He was a character.
Yeah, I know that there was crossing over of these characters, but I didn't know who.
Like they're the same universe, basically.
Yeah.
But there we go. Moving on to anime.
I don't know anything about this stuff. This is all you, man.
But here's what's funny, though. This week, I feel like you did all the game and anime stuff, and I did the movie stuff.
I guess you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Mobile Suit Gundam GQ. What the heck?
That's the title. I don't know what to tell you about that. It's
GQX. Director addresses criticism that the series lacks respect for Mobile Suit Gundam. I have my own take on this. Mobile Suit Gundam G. I'm just going to call it G. Gundam G as opposed to G Gundam. That's a different series.
Okay.
Director Kazuo Tsuramaki recently addressed criticisms that his series takes place in an alternate timeline of the Universal Century, lacks respect for the original Mobile Suit Gundam series. As noted above, Mobile Suit Gundam G takes place in an alternate GX, I'll call it. Mobile Suit Gundam GX takes place in an alternate timeline where I think it's Shah, that's the actual pronunciation, and his Zeon forces stole the RX-782 Gundam as well as the White Base and were able to successfully defeat the Earth Federation forces. The show takes place 5 years after the conclusion of the war. Zeon Lieutenant Colonel Chalia Bull is seeking out Shah, who disappeared toward the end of the war. In his search for Shah, he loses control of the prototype GX that falls into the hands of Amate Usuria. Furthermore, it is shown that Shah's Red Gundam had resurfaced, albeit is now being piloted by Suji Ito. In a roundtable interview with CBR, the veteran Gundam and mecha animator who has worked on Neon Genesis, Evangelion, and Macross discussed the anime's mobile suit designs. He said, other than thinking about the fans and what they'd appreciate about the design, I myself am a Gundam fan, so I designed Gunpla that I would like to have. Next, he was asked if he was worried about how the series was going to be received and addressed possible fan concerns. He said, of course, we think the series has an interesting idea and that the reason we produced it, but on the other hand, it is quite a bold idea, and some traditional older fans who like the first Gundam might think we're lacking respect. However, as a result, even these kinds of fans are finding this exciting and interesting, so we are very happy. Okay, I'm going to try to break this down for you. There's the original Mobile Suit Gundam. I was on Mr. Matchstick's channel for a while. We were doing, I believe, commentary on that. We were talking about different, various episodes of the original series. Classic 1970s anime about a war between Earth and a colony in space called the Principality of Xeon, being fought with mobile suits, these giant mechs. There are other Gundam series. There were sequels made to this series that go on later on. Then there were also alternative timeline series that were not really about the Universal Century era, but they would feature Gundams, but it would be different. Like in Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, it was a completely different political sphere, different universe. The only thing that was common was that each of these universes had Gundams in it, but they were not related in any way. They don't have the same characters or anything like that. This, on the other hand, is treating Universal Century and doing it an alternative timeline. Whereas if Xeon won the war instead of the Earth Federation, it almost reminds me how they did Star Wars comics, where, like, if the Death Star had never gotten blown up, remember those that came out? I think Marvel put them out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Like alternative takes, like events in Star Wars had gone differently. That's what this is reminding me of. My personal opinion, this sounds interesting. I don't like multiverse stuff. It's getting kind of tired at this point, but it might be a way to inject some freshness into Universal Century by having a different outcome of the original war and having Xeon won. It might be interesting. I don't know. Like, it's almost like if if the Empire had won Star Wars, what would happen?
Right.
But it's kind of tricky with Gundam, because in Gundam, it's not that Xeon is. You realize while you're watching Gundam, yes, Xeon are seen as the bad guys and the aggressors, but you realize they're not all bad, and also not everyone in the Earth Federation is good either. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. In fact, in the sequel series, it was the Earth Federation who became the villains in the second series. But anyway, I don't know. It might be interesting.
I am not. I have no idea. I know
it's
nothing.
Space opera. This is pure space opera.
I know nothing about anime. Ironically, I will be appearing on Brandon the Anime's Anime Guys show on Wednesday.
You should ask him what he thinks of this.
Okay, I will.
Say that there's a lot of hullabaloo about this, and you were just curious what his thoughts were. Yeah. I'm just finishing getting into some anime. That's Robert's Infinite Realms. Very touch and go, but no interest since 1995. A lot of catching up and a lot to cover. There's a lot of anime to cover. I'm not gonna.
There is.
I will be nice to you and not tell you have to watch these 10 series. Okay, I'll leave.
It seems like everybody that wants to get you into anime does exactly that. Yeah.
You
gotta watch this. You gotta watch that.
I'm gonna not do that.
And let me tell you something. Don't come at me and tell me I gotta watch Evangelion. I am not. I will not.
I have the DVD set of that. I need to watch it one of these days.
No. Just watch Retro Blast.
I know
talk about Evangelion.
Here's my issue with Evangelion was it had a very obnoxious fan base, and that kind of turned me off from watching it. But
yeah, well, there's a reason that kind of person apparently gravitates to Evangelion.
You keep saying anime like Brittany Venti for some reason too. It's apparently GEEK. GEEK?
Well, then there should be an A in it. I'm just saying.
GEEK. I don't know, like Brittany Venti.
I don't know. It looks like GEEK to me, and that doesn't sound good.
You have to understand something. I come from I got an anime in the 90s where it was also referred to as Japanimation, but that kind of fell by the wayside. Right. I personally prefer the term state-of-the-art Japanese animation, as was often touted in several anime.
I don't know how the heck else you're supposed to pronounce it. I mean, anime.
Maybe it might be different. It might be different. It might be anime. I don't know. I think there is a different way to pronounce it that's more accurate to how the Japanese. How did that?
I don't care. The word animation is.
How did that post? I deleted that. It's okay, Matanui. It's okay. You can.
You can pronounce it how you want, but I'm not going to stop calling it anime.
I know Jack about anime, but Brandon shows Tice. Well, I will say this, Lisa. I know you don't know a lot about anime, but you are into movies, and maybe you don't want to get into the series, but there have been some fairly good standalone feature anime films you may want to try out someday.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's I guess people don't realize if we see a comment, it doesn't go away in the platform. It only goes away on YouTube. That's just how it goes.
I'm probably
So
saying it
I
well,
don't know.
Madanui.
I don't know if you've taken it down and I'm not supposed to read it or something like that. It's a shortcoming of the platform.
Madanui, you have a good night. And
Yep,
trust me,
take care.
I'm very bad with Gal Gadot or Godot. I keep going back and forth with that too.
Oh my gosh, I know, because in the early days of her career, everyone immediately said Godot because, like waiting for Godot. And they said, no, she says Gadot. And then I'm like, that doesn't sound like, I mean, not that you hear
I
her
think
say
I
her own
started
name
out
very
saying
often.
Gadot instead, and then I was like, oh, it's probably Godot, and then I was thrown off.
And now I'm like, you know what? I just don't care. I'll say whatever I feel like at the time. It's up to her to correct us how to pronounce her name.
Darth Plato. Only anime I know is Star Blazers and Macros. Darth Plato, here is an anime I'll recommend. They remade Star Blazers recently in Japan. They remade the old series and it's really good. It's a redone version of the original series, but it still keeps the character aesthetic. So people look how they're supposed to look, but it's done with newer animation style. I recommend the Star Blazers remake, also known as Space Battleship in Yamato. I think they called it both. So you should check it out.
All I know is Speed Racer and Battle of the Planets. That's all I know.
Oh, you saw it? Okay, yeah. I thought they did a great job. In fact, I was kind of hoping they were going to redo the original Gundam series, but I actually think the original Gundam series holds up very well as it is. I'm okay with this alternative take as long as it isn't stupid. There we go. That's my take.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, they changed the story too much? I don't remember. I didn't get to the second part yet, so I just watched the first main part. Disney is building a brand new theme park in Abu Dhabi, but isn't spending a dime on it.
Yeah, and you'll understand why as we get into it. Yeah.
Is this the place with that really tall building that Tom Cruise was trying to scale in Mission Impossible Ghost
Yeah, the Burj
Protocol?
Dubai.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
The Walt Disney Company just made a major announcement, but it's not one that will cost them much up front. Disney is expanding its theme park footprint in the Middle East, teaming up with Morale to bring a brand new theme park and resort to Yas Island in Abu Dhabi. This marks Disney's seventh global theme park resort. But unlike the company's $60 billion investment plan for its other parks, this one is being built entirely on someone else's dime.
Yep.
In a press release Wednesday, Disney confirmed that Morale, the entertainment firm behind Ferrari World and Warner Brothers World Abu Dhabi, will fully fund and construct the resort, while Disney Imagineers will lead the creative direction and oversee operations. This means no capital expenditure for Disney itself, just royalty once the park opens its gates. This is a thrilling moment for our company, said Disney CEO Bob Iger, as we announced plans to build an exciting Disney theme park resort in Abu Dhabi, whose culture is rich with appreciation of the arts and creativity. As our seventh theme park destination, it will rise from this land in spectacular fashion, blending contemporary architecture with cutting-edge technology to offer guests deeply immersive entertainment experiences in unique and modern ways. Iker confirmed to NBC that Imagineers are already designing the park, though no opening date or window has been revealed. The move comes on the heels of Disney reporting solid quarter two earnings, including 6% year-over-year growth in its expenses division covering parks, cruises, resorts, and consumer products. While Disney's not footing the bill, the movie allows the company to extend its global reach into a region with booming tourism sector. According to Disney, 1/3 of the world's population lives within a 4-hour flight of the United Arab Emirates, and the addressable market is estimated at 500 million visitors. Josh D'Amarmo, chairman of Disney Experiences, calls the project a new frontier. Park will feature hotels, immersive dining, retail experiences, fusing Disney storytelling with the cultural and architectural identity in Abu Dhabi. Okay. I'm kind of curious about this, actually. Notably absent anything that feels traditionally Disney. There's no castle, no mountains, no hint of Main Street USA. Instead, this looks more like a luxury destination engineered to impress dignitaries and global elites rather than deliver nostalgia or character-based wonder to longtime fans. It's a bold pivot and one that will likely spark debate among park purists. It's more reminiscent of a sci-fi metropolis than classic fantasy. The announcement may also signal a shift in Disney's international strategy. No more building billion-dollar parks without a partner footing the bill, while the company continues to expand its own parks, including projects in Florida, California, and overseas. This Abu Dhabi deal keeps Disney's balance sheet clean while tapping into fresh demographics. What are you making of all this?
So
It's
here's
just
my
odd.
No, it's not. This is the same thing that happened in China. This is Disney getting an opportunity to get a park in another country. However, it is going to be owned by the country, not by Disney. That's why they don't have to put anything into it. But that also means they're not going to get a lot of money out of it. They're basically just allowing them to use the license and receiving some licensing fees. They will not be able to tell Abu Dhabi that they got to have diversity there, that they got to have, a Pride Day, that they can't do Song of the South if they choose to. None of that. They have no control, and they're going to get pennies on the dollar.
If this is the Middle East, wouldn't Agrabah Palace make sense as the main castle, though, leading into the park?
I'm sure they have their own ideas about that, just like China has their own ideas when it comes to Mulan.
I don't know. I don't know. This is weird. Are they going to have a haunted mansion here that's going to be different than all the others? You know about the haunted mansion in China, right? It's not a haunted mansion. It's a magical. They couldn't have ghosts in it or skeletons, so it's like a different experience. It's not a badly designed theme ride, but you could tell this was supposed to be. It's about a monkey that unleashes a magic something, and everything comes to life inside the house instead of it being about ghosts.
Okay,
it's interesting. I mean, it's no replacement for a haunted mansion, but they don't like any. They don't. You can't have skeletons in your rides in China, or in video games sold in China. You can't have skeletons. Did you know that?
That's interesting. No, I didn't know that. Okay. But it's okay if you have a creepy girl crawl out of a TV. That's fine.
I don't know. It may not be in China, actually, because that's Japan.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought you said Japan. You said China.
No, Japan, they don't care about that stuff. They have skeletons all over the place. It's a Chinese thing. They don't like ghosts or skeletons and things.
Yeah, they have ghosts all over the place. Like Nintendo has them in the closet.
All right, moving on to Robert's Infinite Realms. It's licensing. I get it. I don't like it, but Disney has zero risk. They need money. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, they'll pimp themselves out.
And people will go to Disney World, but they must have rides in this thing. Oh, is this our last story of the night?
It is our last story of the night, and actually, I thought this was a nice one to end off in.
You're not going to like the picture I used.
Oh gosh, what?
That's Alec Baldwin.
Oh, you decided to use the but that would be the wrong picture because
it is.
This one is Ringo Starr.
Yeah. So, man, we're gonna be doing a full Thomas the Tank Engine retrospective this Friday on this Friday's last call. Gonna go on for about 4 hours.
That'd be tough because I don't know how. I don't know.
I don't know anything about. I used to work in a bookstore which had a Thomas the Tank Engine train set in the children's department, and it would always get wrecked each night. It was not fun. Okay, rediscover Thomas and Friends pilot to be released. An undiscovered restored version of the pilot episode of Thomas and Friends, the animated children's steam train series narrated by Sir Ringo Starr, is set to be shown for the first time since it was filmed in 1983. Did the lips move? I'm sorry, I'm being mean. Okay, the original test episode titled Down the Mine will appear online on Friday 9th of May to coincide with the 80th anniversary of the famous Talking Tank Engine franchise. The popular character began his adventure in a book published in 1945, which was later adapted into a TV show, which ran from 1984 to 2021. The pandemic killed it off, I bet. The 40-year-old plus recording of the original pilot shot on 35mm film has been dug up and updated digitally and will be made available to view on YouTube.
As a matter of fact, if you want to watch it, here is the link.
Cool. Beatles drummer Sir Ringo can be heard narrating in the new footage alongside a slightly different bespoke musical arrangement of the theme song, tuned by longtime series composer Mike O'Donnell. Ian McHugh, the series producer of the show from 2010 to 2020, told BBC Radio 4's Today program on Friday the team had stumbled across the old film cans which had been put in storage and had pieced together with great love and care. So this was lost. This was lost media, basically, right?
Yep. I think, for a time, yeah, exactly.
I think you can see that there's teething problems that they would not have had they not done that in the pilot. Oh, interesting. It was a very smart move to do that to make sure everything was good for when they started season 1. So obviously smoke coming from behind Thomas's faceplate, as I know that, having talked to some of the crew who worked on it, they had problems with the radio controlled devices not getting through to the actual engine builds. Okay, so this is almost like a rehearsal for the show. But I think there is sort of lovely charm and innocence about it. And I think even as a pilot, as a test piece, it still has that lovely classic timeless story to it, and the voices, everything is just so delightful. Thomas first appeared on ITV before moving into Cartoon Network, Nick Jr., Channel 5, and can now be found on Netflix. Okay.
I like what Robert's Infinite Realms says. I never forgot watching Thomas the Train for Christmas. And the first time I realized George Carlin was the narrator, and I fell out of my chair laughing. that is
funny.
good.
Alec Baldwin. Oh, he did the film George Carlin Pass. He was supposed to be in this role in the movie. Okay.
Yeah.
You know who else was in this movie? Peter Fonda.
Are you serious?
I'm being dead serious. When Ebert and Roper reviewed it, they were like, "What is going on here?" Peter Fonda's talking about like some train that's not moving, like it's his lost love. It's like would be a great performance in another movie. Here in this kid's, it's just weird. It's like you're giving these very serious, dramatic performances in a Thomas the Tank Engine movie. But
that is kind of weird. That is true. Yeah.
I mean, kids like it. Kids like trains, right? I mean, I don't know. And yeah, you can watch the pilot. I think Troy provided the link in the chat.
My brother used to watch this show, so
okay.
I have seen episodes. I've actually seen episodes of it with both George Carlin and Ringo Starr.
That's cool that Ringo was on it too. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah. He did it for a while actually, but I don't know. It wasn't my kind of thing. It was very. How can I explain this? It was very much a kids show, and it's one of those things that's kind of like unintentional ASMR because they wanted to keep it low key and very relaxed so the children would, stay engaged and not get too excited and whatnot. Some of the stories were a little bit intense, to be honest, but in that very childlike kind of way.
Did they do something where two trains were going to hit each other on the same tracks, that sort of thing, or something like?
I don't remember exactly, but I wouldn't be surprised if you told me that was actually a storyline. That is a possibility, and there was always, and they always found a way to, work in some sort of a morality tale into it and whatnot. And everything I saw about it was good for kids.
It looks like good, clean fun. I was just being silly earlier, but yeah, I know those toys were big too. The little train sets you could buy with the little magnets on the back. Yeah, kids would buy.
And as long as Alec Baldwin is in it, I mean, there were no handguns on the set of this show, so I'm sure it was perfectly safe.
Anyway, yeah. So this was the. I tried to get my little one into Thomas. She's like, prefers music and her entertainment. Oh, that's interesting. She might like the Muppet Show.
The old Muppet Show for sure. Yeah, I guess for kids would be a little bit dated. And then a lot of those Muppet movies are great. So
yeah. Gunslinging takes over the Thomas Tank Engine after the passing of George Carlin. Yes.
I suppose.
I don't know. I mean, it was a big movie when it came out, and it was just odd that you had Alec Baldwin and Peter Fonda in it. But I guess that's the point. But
I had no idea Peter Fonda was in it.
He's like a conductor or something, or like maybe a train operator, or he's something. I don't know.
Well, there you go.
So that wraps up this week's stream. Yep, the Muppets work for her. Okay, that's good. That's good to know. Yeah, because they had a lot of great musical guests on the old Muppet Show. They had
yes, they did.
They had Debbie Harry on there once. Remember?
Yes, they did. They had Gene Kelly.
Yeah, it's impressive. All right, so that wraps it up for this week, and I'm surprised I got through all those articles. I thought we were going to be here forever, but we got through them all.
I know, right? You did great. Stay where you're at, because when this wraps up here, we're going to send you over to Deleted Scenes channel for his reserved seats. So don't you mice go anywhere. And tomorrow night, my members will be watching along with myself and Netter and this guy here, Aged Boomer.
That's right.
We are going to be watching The Big Lebowski.
Yes.
I've never seen it. Netter's never seen it, and we did promise Aged Boomer that he could be there the first time we saw it. So
it is criminal that you've never seen. And don't forget, there is going to be a poll going to be up soon too, right? About which birthday movie.
Yeah. So yeah, that's right.
You have a choice of 3 movies.
So this week I will be putting up a poll for the 19th for next week, but it is 3 movies chosen by Aged Boomer.
You have to pick one of them.
They all look bad, and you got to pick the least bad one. For us to watch to celebrate Aged Boomer's birthday.
You know nothing.
I don't.
They are. They're going to be Bad Ronald, The Car, and Nightmares. But you can pick one. All right. Bad movies.
If you guys vote that I have to see Bad Ronald, you guys better be generous with the super chats, because I don't know how I'm going to make it through this movie.
Pick whatever movie you think is appropriate.
But that's a week from now. Tomorrow night is The Big Lebowski, and then Tuesday, live from Sparkwood and 21 over on Deleted Scenes, followed by the next episode of Blake 7, resolve another little cliffhanger. Wednesday, 7 Central, I will be over on Brandon the Anime Guy's channel talking anime, I guess. He's doing a 1-hour show, and he asked me to come hang out with him. And I don't know if that's on his YouTube channel or if it's on Rumble, if it's a public stream or a member stream. I have no idea. But when I have some details, I'll share them with you on my community tab.
Yes.
Thursday, who are we talking to on Thursday for Thursday?
Ginger Ninja.
The Ginger Ninja. That looks good.
What?
The Ginger Ninja. We will be talking to the Ginger Ninja, finding about his channel. And like I said, I'm going to be asking about whether or not he's a big fan of VivaBarnesLaw.locals.com, because there's a Ginger Ninja who's always dropping super chats over.
Sounds like a John Wick villain. I'm sorry.
And let's see. So Friday, I guess you were here with us, everybody, when Boomer and I decided that we would be talking about must-see TV, which I like to think that Last Call is. At least that's what I'm trying to make it.
So are we doing must-see TV this Friday? You want to do it then?
Yeah, why? Was there something else we were going to do this Friday?
Yes, we also had we'll save the Millennial one for another week, okay?
Yeah, I think that one's going to take a little bit more thinking on my part.
Okay,
but
we'll do must-see TV this week. Sounds good. All right. But we get to learn what it was all about.
Yeah, exactly. And
David Zaslav was rambling about, yes.
And also, just a reminder, every afternoon during the work week, noon Central, 1 Eastern, Liquid Lunch with myself on my channel. Join me for a drink, and we'll talk about. It'll be a different topic every night. Every afternoon. So I hope you can join us for that. Let's see. We got Saturday is, I want to say, Fantastic Voyage over on Big Al Presents Films with Friends. He will be, so over on his channel at 9 Central, 10 Eastern for Films with Friends on Big Al's. And that is the week.
Yeah. And then you'll join us here again. I think we have some celebrity death to talk about next week, unfortunately. But
yes.
But we'll talk about that next time. Oh,
sounds
welcome.
Good.
Hello, Lady Miss. Thank you so much for popping
I
in.
know, last minute, she's... Oh, and Lady Miss, I want to also say a very special thank you to Lady Miss. She has this habit, and I don't know if it's just, humility on her part or what. She'll drop a little super chat for me or Netter, like right as we're doing the closing credits, and I can't, I'm not going to come back in and, say thank you, but I want her to know how much I really, really appreciate her support. Just like I very much appreciate Nate dropping a $2 super jack to say, last call and Geeky Geezers is gotta see TV. I super appreciate that, my friend. I don't know if we can really call it TV anymore. It's must see streaming, I guess. I don't know.
On a TV, it's streaming.
I do watch it on. I mean, I put these things up on my TV, so I guess in a way it's kind of TV. But so
cool. So stay tuned.
That is the cutest. It's not like the emoji. It's like the ASCII type emoji. It's a smiley face that encourages me. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Okay.
And Lady Miss just gave me a $2 super sticker on my channel. Thank you, sweetie.
Aw, that is so sweet. Thank you so much. It's the
little fox with lots
Sheba dog shaking its body from left to right, surrounded by red hearts. She is so sweet. Okay, we're going to wrap this up so you guys can get over to deleted scenes. That's all I got.
All right. Thank you again, Lady Miss. Good night, everybody. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night, ladies.
Good night, sir.
Hit it, sweetheart.
The neon lights are fading. Closing time is near. Whispers in the corners, secrets shared sincere. The bartender's polishing the final glass. Time slips away like moving through the grass. Last call for alcohol, make your dreams come true. One more round, friends, from me and you. Let's toast to the night, to the stories we've spun. Here's to the laughter and to what's begun. The shadows are dancing as we linger still. Every clink of a glass, a memory to distill. Beneath this smoky haze, our feelings they unfurl. A tapestry of whispers in this corner of the world. The jukebox serenades us with a final tune, crooning to the lonely and the lovers under the moon. With every soft note, the end draws ever near. But in this fleeting moment, there's nothing to fear. Last call for alcohol, make your dreams come true. One more round, friends, for me and you.